Okay, hi everybody. Here we are for another week when Black women gather. This is Helen, Miss Higginbotham. I think most of you know me, but I should never make that assumption. For those of you who have been here all the time, thank you so much for coming. I've lost track. We're into our second year and second month, so it's been a while. And for those of you who are new, welcome, and I hope that you have a good time with us today and that you will come again. Today, what we're going to talk about is, are we our hair? There's so much happening with hair. And for Black women, we have somebody on one of the Facebook pages called it, we have a situationship with our hair. How do you like that? Because we do. We have a situationship with our hair. It's a relationship that becomes a situation very easily. Sometimes it's a good situation, sometimes it's not a good situation, but you know, it's our hair. I'm going to put up a poll, and I want you throughout the day to answer the poll, and then we'll come back to the results at the end. Do know that the poll is anonymous. I don't know who you are. It just records your answer. You're under no obligation to participate, but the more who participate, the better. And we can just get a feel for where we are around, you know, black hair care products, the whole bit. So today we're just going to have, like we used to have when we first got this thing rolling, just a generic conversation with just us. I actually have heard from a few people who have stories that they want to share. Fortunately, I heard from Miss Aleathia. I hope I'm saying her name.
Aleathia.
Aleathia. Okay, I'm messing it up. Forgive me. Aleathia Brown. And she has an interesting organization, so I can't wait for her to talk to us about it. It's called Unveiled and Unlocked. And she's been doing work in this area since 2012. I mean, like, she is like official. So we had a great conversation earlier today, and we're definitely going to talk to her. So, you know, so we're just going to talk about in general, like what's going on with our hair? What is our relationship with our hair? You know, is our hair our crowning, you know, glory? For many, you know, we talk about fixing the sister's crown, and, you know, does that mean our hair, is our hair political? We're going to talk about it all today. And then we want to talk about, you know, this whole thing, like the whole Jada Pinkett thing has brought alopecia to the forefront. Many of us lose our hair for a variety of reasons, right? And how do we deal with it? Do we make assumptions about people who have hair loss? What are appropriate things that we should or should not say? How sensitive are we about it? You know, some of us wear weaves. Some of us wear, you know, even I heard earlier this week that the lace front wigs, they pull our hair. So are we complicit? Are we complicit in our hair loss, right? Because of the things that we do, whether it's the braiding or the, you know, even sewing in the weave. Apparently, I've never had a weave, but they cornrow the hair and then they sew it in. Is that trauma to the scalp? So what are we doing? How old are we when we're getting perms? Like, you know, are we perming our children's hair? So that's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. I am not going to do all the talking. I am encouraging that everybody on here, we all have a hair story. All of us. If you're a Black woman, you got a hair story. And this is our day to share it and talk about it and recognize that you're not alone. If you've had some hair success stories, you've lost your hair, you've grown it back, please tell us how you did that. If you've lost your hair and you're just like, hey, I'm so cool with this, it's the best thing that ever happened, tell us that too, right? So I'm going to start out right away because Stephanie Gates is with us, and I know that she has to be on her way. So Stephanie, I'm going to bring you on spotlight if you don't mind. Is that okay? Okay. Hey, Steph. We can't hear you. You're muted.
$1 for every time somebody has to say you're muted. Hello.
Hey, Miss Lady, how you doing?
I'm okay. So I'm gonna preface this by my hair story does not match my current hair, but the pandemic sent me on a different hair journey. I wore it really short, and then I couldn't go to the barbershop, so it started growing out. And I was like, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna cut it back off. I'm gonna let it grow. What am I doing? I knew I wasn't putting chemicals back in my hair because that is another hair story. It's not for me. It's not for me. my scalp is sensitive, so the whole time I relax my hair, I always hate to get in a touch up.
One second, Stephanie, let me interrupt you. I'm going to launch this poll. So as Stephanie's talking, can you all please start taking the poll? I'm going to leave it up indefinitely. So as people sign on, they can, complete the poll. Do remember that it is voluntary and it is anonymous. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So what I just wanted to say, so I broke my finger and I decided, you know what, I'm in the middle of a new hair journey and I can't comb my hair because my finger's broken. So I went and got braids. But I talk periodically, Helen and I talk and exchange ideas. And I shared a story with her because I told her I wouldn't be able to stay on today. I'm actually going to see a play, but I do want to share my story. I dropped it in a link. So if you don't mind, I'll just read from that story.
Okay.
So, but I did drop it in the link in the chat.
Okay.
A woman I went to school with asked me to be featured on her blog. So this is old, and I'm just going to go into my story. It is called An American Hair Story. So this is the hair. If you can see the picture, when you blog in, that's what I'm talking about. So, so it begins with, once when I was a little girl, I defied the cultural norm, and in the process met my authentic self. I lost her, but I have since reclaimed her. This is my little girl story. Now, standing in the food court in Evergreen Plaza, I hear a woman talking on her phone, but because cell phones are the white noise of the new millennium, she quickly fades into the background as I concentrate on something really important, what to eat. Then I hear her say, "Excuse me, you are beautiful. That looks good on you. I just wanted to tell you that," she says with a nod and a smile. I thank her and feel myself grow as her comment reaches inside and soothes my soul. Here is a Black woman complimenting another Black woman on the way she wears her hair, short and natural. I am full and I haven't eaten. I love my hair, or lack of it, and I believe people respond to my closely cropped natural hair because of the energy I send to the universe. Even though my hair has been the same length for more than a decade, and many people have only known me with it short, it's still a topic of conversation no matter where I go. In the airport, a man asks, "Can I rub your head?" He is bald and says that women always ask to rub his head. So he wants to know what it feels like to rub someone else's. I laugh and oblige him, even though I don't normally like for people to touch my hair, one of my idiosyncrasies. It amazes me, it amazes people in a long hair obsessed culture. I choose to wear mine short. It is especially an oddity in the African American community where women are forever chasing the elusive white girl toss and swing. Some say it takes confidence to do what I've done, and maybe it does. I found what works for me, and I'm happy. Then, I remember as a child in my community, those Blacks with European features and physical characteristics were favored. So like many little girls of color, I wanted to be light, bright, and damn near white with long, quote unquote, good hair and quote unquote, pretty eyes. My complexion is caramel, my eyes are light brown, and my hair at the time was shoulder length. So the only thing wrong with me was my hair texture. It needed to be grade A or better, but without Indian or mixed race blood in my family, the best I could hope was B with a little help from a hot comb. I couldn't have good hair in real life, so I made up for it in my fantasy life. All the women in my drawings at school had hair cascading down their backs. When the Black is Beautiful wave hit, I was swept up in the momentum of the moment. It was one of the happiest periods in my life. I was beautiful just the way I was because my 7-year-old self got a full taste of Blackness. At the height of the Black Power movement, Black folks were sporting dashikis and afros, and the sound of James Brown, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud," reverberated in the air. The annual Easter ritual of the wash, press, and curl was replaced with afro, and I wanted to convert. My forever press and curl mother relented and let me wear a fro. There I was Easter Sunday in a white dress with navy blue trim on the sleeves, a thin patent leather matching belt, and Black patent leather shoes, all set off by an afro that was bigger than me. At school, I began drawing men and women with huge afros and platform shoes. I accessorized the women with big hoop earrings and the men with sideburns. My teacher prohibited me from drawing people with afros, but after a conference with my sister, my teacher said I could draw people with afros as long as I made the natural smaller. It didn't matter because my afro fascination was short-lived, and I soon returned to the real world of long, straight hair. But the little girl with the big fro lived in my heart. Now, I am sitting in the airport in Denver, dipping my overcooked chicken strips in some honey mustard sauce. I really don't like airplane food, I'm thinking to myself. An older white woman with a bleached blonde flip and false eyelashes sits on the stool at the counter next to me. She begins slicing and eating the Polish, but leaving the bread. That's smart, a good way to cut down on carb consumption, I mentally note to myself. She turns and tells me, "That haircut looks good on you." "Thank you," I reply. "It's a good cut for the summer." I nod my head in agreement and continue eating. I am full. I'm done.
Love it, love it. So your hair normally is, you wear a short. And another thing I'm going to ask you, because you're a school teacher, what grade are you teaching?
7th and 8th.
And talk to us, are they Black girls in your class?
I teach about 50-50 Black, 50-50 Latino.
But girls, what are the young Black girls saying about their hair? What is their relationship with hair? What are you hearing?
It's interesting. I will say in the last, maybe I've been a teacher for this my 30th year. So definitely in the last 5 or 6 years, I see more girls wearing their hair natural. They'll wear puffs. They'll wear it in a fro. So I'm seeing a lot of that. And they'll do it every day. But what's still interesting is picture day. Some of them will revert back to straightening their hair for picture day.
Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that. Yeah, so thank you for your story. I hope you can hang around a little bit longer with us and we can talk some more.
I got about a good 30, no, I got about 20 minutes. So I'm gonna hang around for that long.
Okay, make sure you all are doing the poll for me.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Did anybody have any questions for Stephanie before I let her go? Yes.
I just love your hair short. I went out to your link.
Thank you.
I do. I have a question for Stephanie.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Hi. Thanks, Stephanie, for sharing your story. Your last sentence of what you just shared. I don't know if you want to. I don't know. I don't want to like mislabel it as a poem but your last line was, "I am full." Are you full in response to what the white woman had said, or describe the fullness that you felt from her saying that the cut looked right on you?
Actually, I don't, for me, it wasn't about what the white woman said. It was going back to the beginning piece. It was I just used that to wrap it up, that different, that women can. So let me back up a little bit. I think that Black women, white women, whatever kind of women, our society does not favor short hair. We don't like short hair, particularly on women. And it's, for me, it's been challenging in my community because when I first cut my hair short, people were like, "You're not going to get no boyfriend. You're not going to get no husband. Men don't like women with short hair." So just for women to come back around and say, your hair looks nice and compliment, it was just me going back to the beginning of being in the mall looking for something to eat, and the woman complimenting me and me saying that made me feel full, even though I hadn't eaten. And I just wrapped it back around to that at the end. It wasn't anything about particularly the white woman complimenting me.
So I received it as though that you're saying that from the Black woman complimenting you on your hair. So that's interesting, Brenda. I didn't even go there. So yeah.
I had a question, of course. She said that she had 50-50 in terms of Latino and Black. I'd be interested in terms of the Latino. You have Afro Latinos in your class. Do you know whether or not you have Afro, and how do they wear their hair? The Latin students.
Straight.
All of them? Oh.
Yeah, I don't have Afro Latinos. Most of them, their natural hair texture is straight. So I don't see them with their natural hair texture is straight.
Okay. And the Latino, you have Dominicans or
mostly Mexican. Mostly Mexican.
Mexican. Okay. All right.
You're in Chicago, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah, Mexican.
Let me ask you, do the young Black girls, are they wearing weaves? Are they permed? What are you seeing?
All of it.
Okay.
So some of them have relaxers. Some of them wear, a lot of young girls now wear braids. And some of them wear natural hair. But I see a mixture. But in the last, I want to say 5 to 6 years, I see more natural. Before, natural used to be the exception and not the rule. And now I would say probably a third of the girls are wearing their hair natural.
That's encouraging. That's encouraging. Any other questions for Stephanie, who's about to run out and see a good play, I'm sure.
Relentless.
I have another question. So Stephanie, as far as like, because you teach a mixture of like Latino and Black children, when it comes to like Black boys and like how, you know, in the positionality of like between like Latinas and Black girls, do you find that the Black boys position the Latinas over the Black girls because, you know, because of their aesthetics?
Some boys do.
Do you find that a lot more?
No, but I know there's specific. I mean, because this has been a few years, but there was a boy in my class, and Helen knows this too. I do work with my students with colorism, so we're always examining skin color and hair and those different biases. But I had a student in my class who his goal was to get with the Latina. And he said it all the time. He said because his example was Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. He said Kanye got with Kim and this was when they had the first baby and they got Northwest. So he felt that if he got with the Latina, that he could have a baby that looked like Northwest. That was his goal. And we talked about it a lot, but that was his goal.
It makes me think of a black guy in law school who dated white women. This is a whole nother issue that we will have this conversation too. But he said that he wanted pretty babies. I said, wow, so what does that say about you? But that's a whole nother story. And I think it's the hair thing. You're like, what doesn't the hair, isn't that what makes you pretty, right? You know, and that's why I'm going to bring in Miss Brown right now, because I know she's chomping at the bit to get in on this. But yeah, you know, so how do we define pretty? Does our hair make us prettier? Are we told from the time that we're a little girl that, you know, long hair is pretty? And it's interesting when you say the girls wear the natural hair until it's time to have the graduation picture, because I made the same mistake and ruined my hair. Had wanted my hair straightened for my graduation picture for law school, and that was the biggest mistake I made. So, and I have been wearing my hair natural all for 2 years. So I'm over that. If you're either in the heat or you're not into heat. You're either into perms or you're not into perms. All right, Stephanie, thank you so much. I'm going to bring in Ms. Brown. Safe journeys, my friend. Okay. So, Ms. Brown is from
welcome.
Is from Unveiled and Unlocked. And when I sent this out, she was like, she called, we had such a great conversation. I hope we can recreate it. But for the starters, like Ms. Brown, just tell us where you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, about your organization. And, you know, oh, and for those of you who are doing the poll, I'm just reminding you that it's still out there. I'm going to leave it up for at least the first 30 minutes, and then we'll look at the results. So please, if you haven't done the poll, complete the poll. So go ahead, Ms. Brown, tell us who you are and what you do, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the conversation. I'm Aleathia. I'm an artist by trade, and I use my Unveiled Unlocked platform as a vehicle for change and healing. So initially when I started, I thought I was going to be speaking to those women in a silent war about their identity being beautiful versus ugly when it came down to not having hair. And what I found out on the fast track was there's a whole lot of silence inside of the silence with all kinds of people, from daughters of mothers who were suffering from hair loss from an illness, to men who wanted to date a woman who had hair loss and he found her beautiful and she didn't see herself in the same mirror lens that he did. So Unveiled Unlocked is something I started as an initiative to put a change on this paradigm about what is beauty. And I'm often saying, if beauty has layers like skin, and we only tap into the surface of it, what would it look like if we start unpacking the other layers of our beauty? Because we have emotional beauty, intellectual beauty, spiritual beauty, and there's so many layers we never tap into, and we just focus on the aesthetic and how we view our aesthetic. So Unveiled Unlocked was to celebrate and illuminate the barehead women and men of color. We also have young people in our collective, and we live and coexist in a society with both genders. Why would we segregate that as being one? So it's not just women who have hair loss issues. I found a study that also spoke to men wearing toupees. 3,000 men per month buy toupees, and they don't buy them themselves directly because of the shame. So they have friends, assistants, and family members who will purchase them so their name is not on the mail. So there's an issue around our self beauty or that loathing. So Unveiled Unlocked also is to re-educate people who do that verbal assault thing where they think nothing of calling somebody out of name, which is also why I'm looking at really working diligently to change the language from bald to bare, because the definition of bald is sick and not in control. And I don't identify with that as how I'm looking at myself without hair. It's barehead so that you call me by the name that I call myself. And so we're re-educating people on the ground up, because when we show up unapologetically without hair, we are also making an impact on those who are looking at us, but those who are also in their own silent water. So there's a lot of layers to this. And because most of us in the collective are creatives, artists, writers, poets, and so on, we can use that in our message. So there's so many different parts to how we're putting all of these things together. And this is our 10th anniversary coming up this August. So in that, we are going to be, the title of our anniversary, because there's a list of things we'll be doing, is Honoring Our Crown, Finding New Directions. And so whether you have hair or no hair, I say you're hair free if you identify hair freedom as not being obsessed with it as your identity, your value, and your beauty. So you can be hair free with or without hair.
Okay, I'm sorry, somebody was sharing their screen. Wait a minute, 1 second, Ms. Brown. I'm not sure what happened with the poll. I didn't end it, but it looks like it ended on its own. And if I relaunch it, that means everybody has to do it again. So I'm going to relaunch it. If you don't mind, please redo the poll. I'm not sure why it went away, or maybe it's something that I did, but it was inadvertent. So I'm going to do that one more time. So please answer the poll, and I'll leave it up for at least the next 10, 20 minutes. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Brown. I'm sorry. So you were talking about you are doing a conference in the fall, right?
Yes. So in October, from the 7th to the 10th, we're doing a 4-day virtual conference, honoring our crowns. And part of that is also layered with some of the workshops and programs that I did some years ago in some of our interactive workshops. So Beauty is Deeper Than Skin is day one. Wobia is Women Bear It All. We do an actual ceremony around a woman who's ready to embrace cutting her hair off, have a barber cut her hair. Sometimes some of us have done the hair cutting. I have a barber's license, so there's a couple of other women in our collective. So we shave the head and do a whole laying of hands on the head and affirmations and a whole circle around them. So because we're doing it virtually, I have a sister that's going to go to one of our barbers and have her hair cut live during our Zoom session. So we have coloring and conversations is day 3. I, as an artist, have an illustration of barehead beauties and barehead brothers who we're going to do a coloring session and then do a talk with a fitness vibrational expert on water and the vortex. So we have different conversations each day. On the final day, we'll do journaling our journey. And so there's a list of things. We'll have a yoga expert that's doing things about the head. We have a sound vibrational expert who's doing sound instruments. We have Mama D, who's on your call here today, who's gonna take a line from each person each day and turn it into a poem at the end. So there's different layers. On the final day with journaling, our journey is going to be talking about our hair stories. So
talk to me about the whole concept you mentioned earlier of saying bare head as opposed to bald head. So tell me where that comes from.
So bare head is because most people have a stigma around the idea of bald. And even in the dictionary, the definition has explained it as sick and not in control. When you give yourself a name by your definition, you take the sting off of it and turn it into a positive experience as opposed to a negative one. So I'm actually looking at the folks from the Crown Act to actually even change the language and include us on the spectrum of natural hair, because if you don't write it into the bill, we don't exist, right? So the hair-free community is, we by definition call ourselves barehead because we bare our head to the universe. And so it is a positive way of looking at having an unveiling of your scalp and not looking at it as something that is only identified with, I got to get permission by being sick. So whether it's lifestyle choice, cutting your hair, or losing your hair to a health issue, when you look at us, you can't tell the difference between who is what in our collective, men or women. You don't know what the backstory is, and nor should that be relevant.
Yeah. One of the questions on the poll is, when we see someone with a bare head, do we assume illness or do we assume fashion? And I'm curious, I can't wait to see what the response to that is. And I don't know, I had to think about that myself. I think I don't know. I think if somebody looks ill, of course, you know, if they're small or emaciated looking, whatever, of course you think that, but, you know, people can have cancer and look as healthy as, you know, the person is any one of us. So I think we can't make assumptions, but anyway. Okay, so Judy, are you telling me that the poll is not working again? Is that what you're telling me? Is the poll up, anybody? Can somebody let me know? Is the poll available?
It was,
yes,
when you put it up, it was.
I
was able to do it.
Yeah, I did it too.
I was able to do it.
But is it still there? Because they shouldn't end until. Okay.
Once you do it, it disappears from your screen.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you all can't tell me. All right, I hope it's still there. I'll check in a moment. Now, you know, something that you talked to me about earlier today, I thought was very interesting, because we know that, you know, Black women lose our hair for, well, women, but we lose our hair for all kinds of reasons. And I listed some things on the poll so we can kind of see what seems to be the major issue for us here. And then some of us never lose our hair. I mean, I know old women who have just beautiful gray hair, right? And it looks as thick and full as it did probably when they were young women. But one of the things that I thought was interesting that we talked about earlier today is that women are losing their hair due to medication. And you told me something very interesting about the alopecia.
Yes. Yeah. In the pharmaceutical industry, when they found that some of the side effects of the medication was hair loss, and they found that women, by and large, in particular Black women, but women overall, who found out that that was one of the side effects, they stopped taking the medication, and they would rather die and be sick than to take a medication that was causing hair loss. That's how devastating not having hair was. And so they got it to be removed off of the label as a warning.
Now, I'm not, somebody unmute and speak to that. That just blew my mind. Had anybody heard that before?
No.
Miss Bray, I see you shaking your head. Can you unmute and talk to me about that?
Yeah, I have lupus, and one of the medications that I was taking caused hair loss.
Was it on the medic?
No, it was not. No, it was not. No.
And no doctor talked to you about it beforehand as a side effect?
What the doctor told me was, I could help you with your pain, but I can't help your hair to grow back. How about that?
And Mama D is one of the founding members of my collective, Unveiled Unlocked.
Wonderful. Anybody else have an experience with medication and loss of hair? Thank you, Mama D. We'll be back to you for sure.
Yeah,
Thank
Miss
you.
Higgy, this is Kelthia. I have, yeah. I didn't know it, but apparently it's fairly commonly known, especially by the pharmacists, that a lot of blood pressure medicine will cause your hair to thin. And I used to work with a white woman, and she told me that she knew that that's what was causing her hair to thin, and she got them to get her off of that medication and onto something else. And she said her hair grew back, you know.
But I wonder if their hair is, you know, is our hair more resilient, or we just think that?
I think we may just think that, especially, you know, if you've done anything, because I also had locks at one point and didn't know what I was doing. So, you know, I have a lot of thinning, but also a lot of it is heredity, medication, you know, because my mother had the same issue, but she also had high blood pressure, was on high blood pressure medicine. So yeah, medicine will definitely take it out. I don't know that it's on the label. I've never read it on the label, but when I went to the pharmacist and talked to him, he was very clear. I'm not one of those people that like would rather be dead than have hair loss. So I'm still taking the medication.
Wow. But here's the other thing too that we don't factor in as Black folks. When you just ask the question, does it make a difference whether it's a white person or a Black person when it comes down to the medication? What also is a variable is our lifestyle, our diet, the stress, lack of sleep, lack of water. A lot of us have a habit and a lifestyle that we've also inherited from our environment, from our parents, and watching them eat. We inherit the way we eat even. And we think that it's the hereditary of the hair, but it's the hereditary of the lifestyle and diet. Because those are contributing factors to our hair thinning, losing, and all of that too.
You mentioned earlier something about every 7 years, the cycles.
Every 7 years, your body changes inside in particularly. So if you don't accommodate the way your body is aging and transforming and transitioning, also the consequence for that is how your body is going to respond or react to everything from your skin's elasticity, your hairs being dense or threads and strands, to your eyesight. I mean, it's all connected. Your body is a universe. And how you treat it has everything to do with how your aging is going to progress.
Right. Yeah, so let me just very quickly share my hair. I hate to say my hair journey. So I have been blessed with a beautiful crown of hair, like since forever. When I was a kid, my hair was so thick that I used to love on Easter or those 2 occasions or whatever when it got pressed and curled, because that's the only time I felt air on my scalp. So that's how thick my hair was. I just had a lot of hair. And we've been up and down. I remember my mother, I don't know how old I was, because I was tender-headed.
I just, like, when it says mute.
Wait a minute, somebody needs a mute. So I was tender-headed as could be.
Unmute, I should be able to hear it.
Wait a minute. Can somebody help me figure out who that is? They're not muted.
If you make someone the co-host, they can mute everyone, and then just only the speaker can be muted. I mean, they can be open. Is there a co-host?
Yeah. Who would I make a co-host? Linda and Miss Brown. Linda is the okay. Anyway, so I had this thick, beautiful hair, and I was tender-headed. I don't even know if we even use that term anymore, right? But if my mother just came near me with a comb, I just, ooh. And so what she would do is just freshen up the part, because she had 4 daughters. She did not have time to play with me every morning getting my hair done. So she would just freshen up my parts, brush over the top, and send me on go. But one wash day, it was just, I hated it. And people literally, when I would go back to where we grew up, they said, girl, we would hear you screaming all the way down the block. I was horrible. I was so tender-headed. So I don't know how old I was. I'm maybe 12 or 13 or so. And this woman in the neighborhood had a beauty salon. And she said that she would, do tame my hair. So anybody remember Vigorol? So she put a Vigorol, which was supposed to be just a mild texturizer, in my hair. And being the astute hairdresser she was, she should have recognized how much hair I had. She didn't have enough Vigorol. So that was the first hair crisis that I had, right? So I lost hair, but I had so much hair, you know, you get over it, right? So that went on and off for several years throughout my life. The last time that I lost my hair, and, you know, I never worried about when I would lose my hair because, you know, you do all these experiments and, you know, it grows back. So anyway, I was in law school. I had been natural by then for quite a few years. And I went to a hairdresser because I wanted my graduation pictures, I wanted my hair to be straight. And even though my hair, I would straighten my hair, I wanted it professionally straight, which is just what Stephanie said her student did. And I'm sitting in this woman's chair and I'm thinking, she didn't rinse whatever out of my hair, but I'm thinking she knows what she's doing, you know, and I didn't question it. And I should have, because it was definitely on my mind. And the difference in this time losing my hair, because all my hair was gorgeous. It was just absolutely beautiful until I washed it. And then it was like, oh. And the interesting thing is I always knew that, you know, with age, most of us are going to lose our hair. I was never worried about that because I had so much hair that I knew even when I lost hair, I would still have more hair than the average person. I just had that much hair. And some people say, and if you're on the call and you're Haitian, don't take offense when people say, girl, you got that Haitian hair. It was just thick, thick, thick hair. Anyway, and I guess I was right because even now when my hair is out, you guys will say, oh, your hair is so pretty, you got an afro, blah, blah, blah. And you know, and so what I always said came true, that when I lost my hair, I would still have, you know, a lot of hair in comparison, but you still long for your hair that you used to have. And even though my hair still grows, what happened was when she ruined my hair that last time around, I was also in menopause, at the beginning of menopause. So things were changing in my body. And so my hair just, you know, I was so used to my hair would come back no matter what. I took it for granted and it didn't come back. It grows. It looks thick, but it's not thick. It's not nearly as thick. And the biggest thing is that the texture changed. So, you know, all of that was devastating for me. And, you know, I remember India Arie, what her song says, I am not my hair. I was like, no, India, I'm my hair. Because I was like crushed. There was a piece of me that was gone. And, you know, so I've accepted it now because it's been a long time. And I've accepted, even though Ms. Brown said I should still see a dermatologist because you never know. And I've never seen a dermatologist. I just, you know, accept it is what it is and be grateful for what you have. And, you know, I still love my afro and this and that, but my hair is different. I can't do the things that I used to do with it. I was telling her that in the old days when I would have my hair braided, I couldn't wait to take the braids out because it was like unwrapping a present. I just loved my hair. But I don't know that I thought that I was really fixated on my hair until I lost it.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. When it comes down to the relationship we have with any part of us, it's also been socialized that way and ingrained in us from the things you said other people are saying to you about your hair too. So they confirm that. And that just takes on a life of its own because it's not just what you think of yourself, it's what others are saying to you about you. And that is now the marriage that you're in the conflict with.
Right, right. So anyway, that's my hair story. I'm going to bring on my friend Evernice. Do you mind, Evernice? Because she definitely has a story to share with us. Evernice?
There are some people that have their hands raised.
Oh,
also.
it is hand raised?
Yeah, there are four people.
Okay, I don't know why I'm not seeing the hand raised thing. Maybe because I got this poll. Okay, let me do this. Let me stop this poll because I think it's not letting me see all the features because I have it. So I'm going to pull up the poll and stop it. We'll look at the results. We have 66 people, 71% participants. So 66 of 92 of you have answered the poll. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So do you all see the results?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, how come I can't see the results? What have I done?
I don't see the results.
Helen, I can see them. Can you hear me?
Wait a minute, I'm trying to see why I can't see them. Okay, here we go. All right, now I see them. Okay, so let's look at the question. So I agree with India Arie that I am not my hair. 88% agreed with that. So I want to hear from the 12% that didn't. because that's the voice that we probably want to hear. I want to hear all your voices, but that's the different voice, right? Black Americans spend $2.5 billion annually on hair care products. That is true. Is that horrible? But that's true. You know, our spending power, I just had the figure here somewhere. I think we spend, where is it?
I thought it was $1 trillion.
Oh, no, I messed that one up. I tried to call you at. We spend $1.2 trillion annually just on goods and services, period. That's enough to feed a whole nation. But just on our hair, we're spending $2.5 billion. So I thought that was interesting. And what we need to talk about is how much of that is coming into our neighborhoods, right? Because the hair care industry, which maybe Ms. Brown can speak to, we've pretty much been shut out of it. So we need to really talk about it.
We are still the consumers, not the business owners of the products or the services that we have. We're the workers and the consumers. We're on the low end of the totem pole of that. And I have actually witnessed I went into a beauty supply store around the time I was in the barbering school, and in 5 minutes on a Tuesday afternoon in Harlem, they had rung up over almost $1,000 at a register. That was on a Tuesday in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Well, we know we know from the film Black Hair that at that time, and that was what, like 10, 15 years ago, how much a suitcase worth of hair from somebody else cost that we were using, right? It was like almost $1 million.
Yeah, and if we can talk also about the Chris Rock film, because I'm going to tell you, you know, the most I've ever had done to my hair is a perm and some braids. I've never had a weave or any of that. I had no idea that Black women were spending that kind of money on our hair. So that, you know, people got mad at him for making that film. I was like, whoa, what are we doing? That just blew my mind.
But what we're not touching on is the emotional charge that is actually the result of why everyone is so obsessed with an aesthetic beauty. We are not touching in what actually the source of this is coming from. So, and now because of social media and the internet, you have access to seeing people and then identifying with what you think that beauty is and internalizing that as, I'm not good enough. And so what does it do? It's now causing another ripple effect, because I had a group of Africans from Ghana reach out to me on Facebook saying that the young girls in their 30s in one of the villages there, they watch us online with Unveiled Unlocked. And what he was saying is these girls are wearing lace fronts because they're seeing the American culture in terms of beauty and they're trying to assimilate that. So he's trying to re-educate them on their culture. And you're talking about, you're in Africa having that struggle because of the internet. So there's an impact on social media and the standards and how beauty is being identified and cast. Like, if I can buy it, I can have it. I don't even have to have my own identity.
I'm glad you said that. It takes me back. I lived in Ghana, I think many of you know, for 6 months. And while I was there, I noticed that the little girls, up until like at least their teenage years, they had very short, beautiful, I mean, like, cut like a boy, very buzz cuts, I guess you would call them. So of course, you know, when I would ask like, why? I mean, these are like girls, why do they all have the short hair? And I was pretty much told that because they don't want to distract the boys and they also don't want the girls to be fixated on hair. They want them to be focused on studies. Now, since I've been back in the States, I've asked Africans that and they're like, that is not true. But Ms. Brown, you said you heard the same. And the other thing too, I want to share is when I was in Cape Town, I saw a woman, we were in the same hotel, we were eating breakfast at the same table or whatever, and she had a bare head. I'm not gonna use bald head anymore. She had a bare head. And I said to her, I said, my God, I said, you look so beautiful. I said, you were really rocking that style.
You haven't gone yet.
And what she said to
me, let the heat in.
Somebody please mute, please mute. And what she said to me was, that she wasn't rocking a style, that in South Africa, when they've lost someone who's very close to them, a loved one, they shave their head as a sign of reverence to that person. So, and you are aware of the same thing, right, Ms. Brown?
Yeah, and this is the thing. Even here, what I had, because we have men in our collective, one of the guys who's a photographer, his mother was in a bout with cancer, and when she transitioned, he began to shave his head in homage to his mom. So for his mourning period of grief, he wore his head shaved, and he had locks. So there are a lot of those cultural and heritage decisions that we make about our aesthetic, even here. Those who are connected understand the why. Some do it just out of an inner loyalty to their family and their surroundings. And this is why I said, if you look at us on a visual, you would never know who and what and why just from the surface, because a bare head is a bare head. The backstory is only when you speak.
And you know, and I'm going to go through this poll real quick, and then we're going to go to the hands, because this is really a conversation for all of us. But I also, if the barehead ladies could please tell us, how do you want people to ask you, or do you want to? I mean, how? Just tell us what you think when people are approaching you or looking at you, or just what should or should we not do. So real quickly, let's just run through the rest of this poll. Oh well, here's the next question. Oh no, wait a minute, I forgot this one. Oh no, yeah. So when I see someone with a bare head, I assume illness, fashion, or no assumption. So it's interesting that people said they make no assumptions. So that I really want to talk about. Is that really true? You know, I don't know. I guess so. That's what
perhaps in the past 5 years, because it's been more often that you're seeing it in all different walks of work and social life. So in the past 5 years, not as much. But prior to that, that was a different story. I had a little girl say to me in a restroom, I'm coming out of the stall, and she looked at me up and down, a little Latina girl, and she goes, are you a boy or a girl or both? And then she started talking about, do you believe in God?
Oh my God.
She was 8.
She's a child, so we give her that. Okay, so the next one here, I have experienced hair loss or hair thinning due to, and you could pick more than one here if you wanted to. So let's see which one had the most.
Age.
Age. Okay, so not the illnesses so much. So alopecia, I don't have the results, but I mean the statistics, but I wonder how prevalent alopecia is in our community. I'm surprised that lupus is only 2%, because that is very prevalent in our community. And one of my friends was telling me today about long COVID. Have you all heard of that? Apparently women are losing their hair who have been affected by COVID. So I don't know if they're telling that. And nobody picked oral contraceptions. That's interesting. And that's me, old school, because I worked at Planned Parenthood for like a nanosecond. And that's when they were putting the Norplants. I don't know if you all remember. They were putting that Norplant under the first layer of our skin in our arm, and it was making us lose our hair and gain weight. It was just horrible. I think they were experimenting on us, and they didn't tell. But here's also what's interesting. We have, you know, for other and not applicable. So maybe that means that, you know, many of us are not having hair loss issues, which is a beautiful thing. Here we go. Please check the styles that you have worn. What's the big one? What's the main one here? Natural? No, perm to relax. Okay, yeah. So perm and relax is at 91%. No, 60, what is it? 66%, 91% at perms, braids, weaves, locks, press and curls. We have to talk, does anybody still get press and curls? So we'll come back to these questions. Does your hair make a political statement? That's all, yeah, most people said no. I have to be honest, sometimes I do wear my afro because I definitely walk up, I'll never forget, I walked into a meeting one day and it was a contentious meeting with a bunch of other people who don't share our gift of melanin. And I was looking fly. I knew it. I had my big fro. I had on this fur coat, and this Pakistani girl, she knew exactly, and I was just being me walking into the room, but I knew that my presence was sending a message. So I have to tell you, sometimes I'll say for me, I do use my hair to make a political statement. And, you know,
sometimes it's also a social statement too. So I've had situations when I was transitioning my hairdo, and I've had to work in an environment with a group of white folks, and I had to tell them the night before, listen, I'm coming tomorrow with a different do, and you don't get to ask me why, what, or how, and don't even reach for it to touch it.
Yeah, that's the other reason I miss my hair. I would walk into work one day, I'd have especially when I was in law school, I'll never forget, I walked in, I had a fro, I would have a fro one day, braids the next day, twist the next day, and not the next day, but and my professor was teaching one day, and she caught herself, and she said, Miss Higginbotham, how do you do your hair? And then I think she realized, oh, I'm in class, I shouldn't ask her that. But you can just look at their face and see they're mesmerized by our hair. I'm like, yeah, okay. So that's one of the things I miss too about my hair. How old were you when you got your first perm? Now, this is interesting. So what do we have here, Linda? 47?
11 and 12. 11 to 20 is I think that's the largest group.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it'd be interesting to know if it's closer to 11 or closer to 20. But the less than 10, I thought that was going to be higher because we are perming our kids' hair so early.
No, but here's the new shame. The youngest living girl child who had braid extensions added to her head was a 3-month-old. That should be criminal. And I had my cousin is in the hair industry, and she sent me the picture. I cried because this baby was still not even able to lift their head up. And when I said, like, the thickness of your hair, Helen, on a 3-month, the hairstylist that did it and the mother should be arrested.
That's horrible. Okay, and this one here is interesting because even though we talk about how much money is spent in the industry, all that time you spend in the beauty salon, that's your money too. So add that in. And what do we have? What's the longest?
6 hours. 6 hours.
Yeah, that's a long time. And that was probably for braids. But you know what? I can't even say that. When I used to get perms, so I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you all for participating in the poll. But when I used to get perms, I would go on my way home from work because I knew they wanted to get home, and so did I. So I would purposely make 5 o'clock appointments because I don't have all day to sit in a hairdresser and get my hair done. Okay, so this has been great. So don't leave us, Miss Brown. I'm going to bring in Donna McRae. Your hand is up first. Go ahead.
Oh, mine was.
Oh, I'm looking at the list that I see then. So I'm going to go down the list.
20, 30, 40. Yes, 20, 30 minutes.
Okay. I don't know who that is. Who is that? That's just
Charlotte Mondelin. She can go first if she wants to. That's fine.
Who is it?
Linda knows who I am.
I don't. Okay, now I see. I didn't see you on screen. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things
take your hand down, Charlotte.
I got it. I'll do it. Go ahead, Charlotte. Just talk.
I first had an afro in 72 when it first came out. I really never cared about what anybody thought about my hair. I was the first on my job, and I worked for the state, to get locks in my hair. I didn't get promoted, but I was ready for it. And before I got the locks, I read up on it for about 10 years. So I knew what the locks meant. I was diagnosed with cancer in 96. I was ready to cut my hair out because I thought I would have to have chemo. I didn't have to have chemo, but I had medication and it thinned my locks, but I still had locks from 1985 to 2010 when I retired. I wear my hair naturally. But one thing too, no one seems to have talked about, is called trichomania. And that is a nervous condition, which it makes you pull your hair out. So you see your hair can be uneven, and it comes from stress. And it just happened because my brother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I've started pulling my hair out unknowingly. So one time I pulled it till it was bald, but I've worn my hair natural. I love my gray hair, my white hair. It is beautiful. My daughter, Linda, you didn't know she was my daughter, but Shonda Lassiter is my daughter. She wears locks. My other daughter wears her hair natural. 2 of them out of 4. 3 out of 4 wear their hair natural. I never cared, and it never stopped me from getting a man or a husband.
Hey.
And so nobody asked me for it, So, but it's an inner feeling that you got to feel for yourself. And I've always had a high forehead. So when I was a kid, I had to have them curly bangs. Okay, I'm 76 years old, so you know where I go back to. And I cut my hair at 24, and it's been natural or locks ever since. And I know with the trichomania, I'm not worrying about it growing back, because what I'm looking for now is a good barber to cut my hair. So it's all about what you think about yourself. And so it's trichomania too.
So I'm going to guess that you were one of the 12% that said your hair does not define you.
Oh no, my mind defines me, and my heart. Yeah, I don't care.
Charlotte, I appreciate your comments. So I don't want to well, who else is dying to go next? Because I can just do it in the order that I see it. Is Miss McRae?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
Hi, everyone. My story is a little bit of a vanity thing. I wore natural some years ago, big Angela Davis one that some of you all remember and she still wears her hair natural. But my question was, when I first got my hair, I went natural again during the pandemic because I couldn't get to the hairdresser and I wasn't sitting up in a chair having anybody breathing on me. So I stopped going, and my hair was relatively short at the time, not real short. And so I was trying all kinds of things, but the main thing is that when I got it cut, I looked in the mirror, I felt like I looked like a boy because I wasn't wearing makeup because of wearing the mask. You didn't want to have makeup on. And so that was a real big issue for me. And now if I go out, I've finally decided that my short hair is fine. And it took me a minute because I looked in the mirror like, who's that? Because I wore it straight. I have thick hair, always have, and I wore a perm. But I wore a big afro for about 10 years. And then I went to get a job, and my mom said, and I'm sure some of y'all can relate to this, you're not going to get a job with your hair looking like that. Big natural hair like that. So I did end up getting a relaxer, but presently it's a makeup thing. And I don't know if any of you all wear makeup, but without it and without a mask, I feel like a boy. That's my story.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something that we should, thank you, Ms. McRae. That's something that we should definitely talk about, right? Because when we think of getting our hair, well, let me say, when I think of getting my hair, I think my features are too big. So that's why I got to have hair. I don't know how I would look with short hair. But when and Miss Brown and I were talking today, because, you said, oh, you have the perfect head for that. And what did you tell me, Miss Brown?
You have the head you're in, and like any aesthetic, you have to really figure out how to work your aesthetic for you. It's no different than if I cut or have long hair, I still have to style it to fit me. I still have to rock it so that it's no different. And whatever head you have, that you have a head should be your focal point. Not is it the right shape or the wrong shape? Here's where we go. If you figure out how your aesthetic can work for you, it's not whether you're a boy or a girl, feminine or masculine. It's really whether you figured out what works and what can be your aesthetic. And so sometimes it's earrings, sometimes it's the way you have it cropped from short at the top and longer at the back, or the vice versa. It's all these different measurements, and you have consultants that can even on a virtual give you a consultation on some of the things you can do. Some people are not good at dressing, so they might need somebody to help them on figuring out what works best in attire for that new do. So there's more than one aesthetic that you can tackle to fit into yourself.
So what I want, we're going to move on to the next question, but I want, as we're talking, well, let me ask before we move on, for our barehead, is there any barehead woman who wants to talk about when you first went barehead, and did you feel an overwhelming need to have on makeup, to wear big earrings? Anybody, we heard from you, Mama D. Is there anybody else who has a barehead who can tell us what their experience? Evernice, can I call you out on that one? You need to unmute. Evernice, unmute.
There.
Okay. So did you
yes.
Overwhelming? Tell us your story and how you know. Tell us what.
Well, as a little girl, I had very thick hair, and I didn't care about what my hair looked like. My mom did my hair until I went away to college. And because I never learned to work with my hair, all this thick hair, I ended up cutting it. And I left Texas, where I grew up, and moved to California. And I went to a hairdresser who thought she needed to thin my hair. So she would take a razor and go through it to thin it so that it was easier for her to do whatever she was going to do. And finally, I was getting the hot comb treatment and curling, and she convinced me to do perms. I did that, and I had hair, but I started losing it at like age 29. I learned that it was part hereditary and alopecia. As I looked back, as I was questioned, as I went to different doctors, and they were asking me about family history, and I realized my mom had gone bald just on top. She passed at age 78, but as she got older, it continued to come forward. Well, my balding was from the front. So by the time I was 40, I had lost most of the hair around the front. And because I had a niece who was a hairdresser, she did the braids and weaved hair onto the braids. And I did that for 4 or 5 years. And that got to be very, very expensive. And I didn't like the amount of time it was taking to have that done, because I started to lose the hair in the back as well. By the time I was 55, I was wearing wigs, and I was wearing human hair wigs, and that got to be expensive because I was doing menopause and having night sweats and the whole drama with sweats, that I had to clean those wigs every other day and have so many. So I thought, I gotta find another way. So I started wearing wraps. After wraps, and I still let my hair grow. I remember when I finally decided that I needed to let go of the hair. I had a ponytail about that long up in the top of my head because all of the hair around was gone. And now I have very little hair that grows. Maybe there's a patch here and a patch over here, but that's about it. The problem I had was I worked in corporate America, middle management, and people thought when I took off the wig that I was sick. I never wore makeup, and I would wear jewelry, but not large bangly jewelry. But once I took off the wigs and stopped wearing so many wraps, I felt like I needed to add makeup, add the ring. Well, it wasn't so necessarily me, But friends and family thought I needed to do these things. And today I have a lot of jewelry that is in my jewelry case, because I have a full standing jewelry case with all this stuff that people gave me to help me look my best. But I feel very comfortable now with myself without hair. My husband said a couple of days ago, we were on vacation, you know, you have tan lines around your face. Your face is darker than where you are wearing wraps and caps. Well, I'm on the East Coast and it's cold, and I want my head and ears not to be cold. So yes, I am wearing things, but it's not because I don't want to show my bald head. So
yeah,
that's my story.
So with those earrings, any of them that you don't want, you know, you can ship them this way. But yeah,
I'll do that.
No, but I would think that I would want to either wear big, I mean, this is what they, and I'm sure it's what your friends and everybody was telling you, like wear the big earrings and makeup. And if that's not who you, and I knew you way back, so I can't see you with big earrings or lots of makeup. So thank you.
And see, that's why I said it has to be you finding an aesthetic for you. And we as women have been on a journey anyway from all kinds of aesthetics. So a drop earring, a no makeup, a hat, a wrap. I mean, whatever the aesthetic is, it's you finding and exploring until you find where your comfort is. And it may go full circle to where you decide that I'm not doing either. And from the moment you accept who and what you are, you start showing up and exuding an elegance and a presence. That's really what the inner beauty is about.
Let me tell you, I was at her wedding. She couldn't have been a more beautiful bride. How old were you, Bernice? If you don't mind telling.
I was 71.
And honey, a size, what were you, a size 7, 8? I don't know. She was putting me to shame. She looked fabulous. And
that's what I'm saying.
It's the only time in my life I've ever worn a wig, because I had some crazy stuff going on with my natural hair. And I just said, oh, and I was at Irma's, another friend of ours, and I put on her wig. It was the only time in my life I've ever worn a wig. And I pray to God that I don't ever have to wear a wig again. I don't even like the pictures from that day, Bernice, but I'm just, the whole wig thing. And they say that wigs have changed a lot now and you don't even know they're on your head, but I don't even like hats on my head. So if something happens with me, I'm going to have to talk to all of you bare-haired ladies to get me to the point where I can just say I'm bald and it is what it is and I'm wearing this because
we actually have a sister in our collective on our second day. We're going to have her on. She makes her own wigs with natural hair so that you don't have to divorce your culture. But the way she makes it, because she's a knitter, she actually makes the cap so that it fits on a head with no hair and it doesn't slide. You don't have to have a skull cap on, and it expands. And she's given me 2 of them. And when I tell you, I'm not a wig person, but I have a hat thing, and it didn't irritate me. It didn't make me feel like I had to rip it off. And I've had it on for hours at a time. So because she's doing hand custom work, she's fitting them to her customers. So it's a different experience. And so I have her coming on to one of the days to talk about that, because it's just like,
I don't like hats. I put them on. I take, anything on my head after, and I know it's all psychological. I feel like I get this off my head. It's giving me a headache. So anyway, thank you, Ms. Bernice. We've got quite a few hands up, so let me try and get through. And I'm going to try and get up there and see you, but we'll talk afterwards.
Okay.
Let's see. The next person I see is Miss Powell, and I definitely want to hear from my friend Anastasia. But go ahead, Miss Powell.
Hi, I actually forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I could speak to a lot. I know you, Miss Helen, from Beauty Visit Africa.
Oh, wait a minute, Charlotte. Come on, camera. So Charlene has done.
I put my camera.
Yeah, she knows my hair. Now she gonna tell you my hair is beautiful and I complain too much. That's what she gonna tell you.
But I am the I have a lot to say, and that's one of the reasons it motivated me to get on. I am interested in Miss Brown for the wig maker, because the business I'm venturing into is trichology, which deals with hair loss and alopecia. So, and wigs is an option, and I won't do wigs because it's just not me. But I know that women need it. And I am the 12% that, not that I believe that I'm beautiful because of hair. I believe in that inner beauty. And years ago, my cousin said, you're not pretty, it's your attitude. If your attitude is pretty, then you're pretty. If you got an ugly attitude, then you're ugly. Yeah. So not so much defined, but to just fast forward to the hair business itself and the politics behind it, because I can address a whole lot of other issues, but I don't want to take up a lot of time.
But I want you to give a plug. I want you to give a plug for your shop.
Okay.
Go ahead, finish what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I teach cosmetology right now. I'm retiring though in June. But and it's scary what I see in front of me in the classroom about the industry. But just talking about politics alone, I think it's quite alarming that in the year 2022, we have a bill that passed Congress, I think in 2019, the Crown Act bill, and it hasn't passed the Senate yet. Some states have bought into it, but I think it's sad. And I guess because I witnessed it firsthand, that mainly our men come into the salon with locks, they can't get a job. They said, cut my hair. Immediately, they get a job. So yes, I am proud of our newly appointed Ketanji into the Supreme Court with her locks, looking lovely. And proud of our Ayanna Presley, I think looking wonderful with her bare hair.
All right.
But it is political in my arena that we have a bill and we're still being discriminated against. We're still being looked upon. I think we have a lot of work to do. I would like more information on that Unveiled Unlocked, but I just see that we have a lot to do with educating our young people mentally about beauty and about how they feel about themselves. And we just have, it's a lot of work, but I do think it is political and it has been forever. It is a huge business, and that's why we're so impressed with our elders that have gone on before. Mount C.J. Walker is my shero, even though Annie Malone has come before her. And when we were kings and queens, you know, hairstyles were make a difference in our community. In the year 2019, no, I did not live in Ghana. However, I had that same question about these little girls with these short haircuts, and I wondered why, and they were still beautiful. But I said, why all of them have short haircuts? And it was dealing with education and the amount of time it takes to get their hair done. And education is extremely important. And so the time we spend in the salon or getting our hair done outside of the salon, it's time consuming, like your mom said, Miss Helen. Who has time to be fooling around with all that hair? We got things to do, and let's keep it moving.
Wait. Charlene,
yes.
You know that getting your hair done, when I was in law school, I couldn't wait. I hate getting hair. I don't have anything for hair, but it gave me an opportunity to be around my people and have conversations. You know, I have a lot of conversations at the hairstylist, right? That's my thing. It gives us peace. Some people go to church. Some of us go to the hairstylist just to be able to release and be around people who are normal, who understand you. You don't have to pretend. You can just be who you are. So it's like a spiritual experience in a hair salon. So 4 hours, you're right.
The hair salon for you is the same thing that the barbershop is for guys. And you know what, I guess for women too, I don't know. So Charlene has a salon. Where's your current salon at now, Charlene? Where are you at?
Well, right now I am working under another salon. It's Glamorous Styles, but I am waiting for a new place. Okay. So I'm in search of a new place so I could not move anymore. We had to move because they're tearing down the building, but that's my goal is to own a building so I could just not move anymore. I just want to stay put. So I still do natural hair. I love natural hair. That's why I was 4 years old and I said, I want to braid hair when I grow up. So, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I always, my family, I have a history of women in my family that did not do too many relaxers. They don't wear makeup. So it's just, we just love on ourselves. We look in the mirror once going out the door, and whatever you see, that's what you get. And, and we still think we're wonderfully made. So
that's what I mean by the inner beauty, right? Once you
right.
have that in check.
Yeah, and let me just say, Linda, Charlene is Linda's hairdresser in Irby. I don't know if Irby's even on the call. And she referred me to Charlene. And so if you're up in the Union area, look her up. She is beautiful inside and out. And Linda's not at her shop every day, so you don't have to listen to Linda. Yeah, but thank you, Charlene. Charlene, thank you.
Thank you, but it is a joy to have be able to be of service to both of you, Helen and Linda. And I can't help but comment on Linda's comment, because it's always a learning experience when Sister Linda is in the house. So I get all my news and my updates from my sister, and it is quite enlightening. It's encouraging, it's motivating, and it does my heart good.
And she always talks about chattel slavery, I'm sure, or politics, or civics.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Charlene, and stay as beautiful and positive as you are. Good to see you. Okay, so
can I say something more? You have 5 more people, Helen.
Okay, somebody was trying to say something right then. Who was that?
I'm Brenda Nura. I just wanted to add something real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm from New York, and when we were wearing naturals in the 60s, I went and opened up my barbershop at 27 so that I could cut natural hair, because just as the conversation has been going, when the movement was for us to wear our hair natural, you had to go to the barber, and the men would cut your hair off and make you look like a man. So Black Rose, myself, and another brother were the 3 people and I was in the village next to Slugs, and I went to Chinatown to learn how to cut with scissors so I could cut the curl back in, not take it out. It took the perms out of people's hair so that we can wear natural. And to this day, I am 81. If you look up my picture, you'll see that my hair is twisted with gray. And there's something about us being ourselves. There's something about us loving ourselves. But I have to tell you, with no disrespect, hair was always important to Black women. When we were growing and you saw our aunts and everything, they would never go with no hair. They had wigs on. If their hair turned gray, they rinsed it blue. So we are coming from all those places in the last 50 years, but the whole thing was to love yourself and to be yourself. And I'm so grateful that people are going back, because natural hair was not just a joke. You had to learn how to take care of it. And beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So if you don't love yourself, and if you say smack and dab and go on, but everywhere that you can think of in history, hair defined you. Hair defines you.
Let me ask you, Miss Brenda, because I love the 60s, and I've written so many things about hair, but at some point I feel that, in the 60s and 70s, we were wearing our hair, it was natural. We weren't feeding into the, white woman, blonde hair, flowing, towel on our head kind of thing or whatever. And I think, it was exuding pride. It was exuding Black power, Black pride. And I think it made not only white folks nervous, because, we're not supposed to be confident. I think it also, well, talk to me. What was the bourgeois or the corporate American Black person? What were we saying about the Afro? Because I think we pushed back on it too, didn't we?
No, what I think happened when Malcolm and all those great souls were coming through, the whole thing was be natural, be yourself, be natural, be yourself. And there's so many people who are not with us now. I'm trying to think of the singer, because she was She had her hair natural. So that was, it was mandatory in New York that you made your hair. But the thing is, the husbands told you to do it. But if you didn't have anybody to do it, like I said, people, you know, we had just started to go from the straightening comb to the perm, okay? Macy's was a place where we went and got our hair done after you got a perm. And we talk about after getting fried. So when they came up with Be Natural, and now you had to do something to the perm to get your hair natural. So when I had my business, I had to revert the perm without taking all your hair off. You had to put vinegar, sit you under the dryer, and do all of that to bring your hair back.
Brenda,
Go ahead.
Are you talking about Cicely Tyson or Nina Simone, right? You were talking about Nina Simone?
No, I'm trying to think of, her husband was a drummer, and I'm trying to think of the singer. And she was one of our first singers. She's deceased now, but she—
Abby Lincoln?
Abby Lincoln. Abby Lincoln, yes. Abby Lincoln had a hair, and that whole era was in New York, you know? And, you know, that was before New Jersey. So, you know, we've come a long way with hair. And Black Rose was the queen of everything, because she knew how to take hair growing and style it into all kind of beautiful ways, so that you could have a head. And Angela Davis had an afro, you know. And so the evolutionary people, let's put evolutionary people, were coming that way. So what you're saying so much, Charlene, about the youth, I'm in East Orange, New Jersey, and I see the majority of people with braids now. I rarely see anybody with the perm.
Well, really, we haven't talked about the weaves, and I want us to get to that, but I want to get through these hands that we have, because people are being really patient and we're running out of time. But if there's anybody, I mean, can we talk about weaves, and why are we wearing the weaves, and how are we going to get off the weaves, and why does the weave have to be to your behind? And has the weave that's to your behind really replaced that towel that you had on your head when you were a little girl? I mean, and you know, you can say the same about braids. I guess people with long braids, but I'm partial to braids, because I feel braids are ethnic. You know, they're that's who, you know, and that's why when white women try to wear braids, we don't appreciate it. Braids are ours. I think long weaves is sending a different message. And a part of the reason too that I was upset when my hair got ruined is because it bothers me when I walk. I would say if 10 Black women are assembled, 8 of us have fake hair, whether it's braids, whether it's a weave. And I just wanted to like free my hair. I'm like, I don't wear no braids, whatever. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So, and we can talk about that too. So next, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see. Michelle Burgess, you're next, and then Anastasia, Miss Edmonston, and then Miss Wade. Those are the hands that I see right now, but that's the order. So Miss Burgess, are you ready? Go ahead.
And thanks, Ms. Higgy, and welcome. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to make a couple points that someone brought up earlier. I had a friend in North Carolina, where I am, who developed breast cancer. When she went over to Duke, the doctor asked her how long, when did she ever perm her hair? And she said, yes. And she said, well, what age did you start perming your hair? And she said around 8 years old. And that young lady was from Philly. And come to find out that Duke and others are now starting to study a correlation between women that are getting their hairs permed at an early age and breast cancer. So that was the first thing. Yes, I put it in the chat, and then somebody said that was interesting. I thought, oh, well, let me just share it with the whole group just in case they didn't see it in the chat. The second thing is, and I saw Pam's on here, there's a Women's Health Awareness Conference that happens down here once a year. And I happened to go to one session one day, and there was a doctor from Johns Hopkins who came on and started talking about Black women's hair. And she talked about the products. There was a website, and I don't have the website, unfortunately, but there's a website that lists the products that they have found are cancer causing for Black women as well, and whoever else uses these products. And these are products that most of us have heard of or used sometime in the past. Yeah. I don't have, like I said, I don't have the website, but that's something we should be aware of, the hair products that we're using. In addition, just as a side note, she did mention Febreze is also a product that has been found to cause cancer. So I hate to tell you, ladies, if you have some Febreze in your car or if you have it in your house, get rid of it. You know, open up some baking soda or whatever else you have to do. And let me do share that there's a product that I started using called Vitality Extracts. I'm not, full disclosure, I don't get any money from them or anything like that. But they have a product called Hair Vitality. And I started using that in my hair and also taking silica and collagen. And that helps to strengthen your hair molecules and helps to, you know, all the fibers, whatever else you need to do. So if anybody needs to look into it, I can go on a little bit more about that, but I won't, into products that help your hair. I know Vitality Extracts work, as well as I said, silica and collagen. And that's it. Thank you.
So two good points that I think, you know, we do know. My mother died from breast cancer, and I don't know what the stats are now, but from what I heard back then and since is that we die more from breast cancer than do others. So that's kind of interesting when you talk about the whole correlation between the chemicals that we are putting into our hair, which, you know, if it goes through your body, a good place for it to start is here, right? So that's interesting. And will they ever tell us? And is it accidental, right?
Well, can I chime on that? So my cousin is in the natural hair industry, and she's an icon in this industry. One of the things that she came across was they had done some autopsies on Black women, and the majority of them who had been wearing perms from the teens to their adulthood had a green matter that was from the top of their head and seep down through their body. And it's a trickle down. Whatever goes on the top of your head is actually traveling through your body and down the rest of your organs. That all of them had this same green matter in these autopsies, which is, again, what happens in this medical apartheid is you're not going to hear the information if you're not seeking it. And then because the industry is making so much money, just think about the cigarette companies. How long have we known what cigarette does, right? But yet we still have these major companies and corporations that are putting these out, knowing what the warning signs are. So it's the same thing with the beauty industry. When it comes down to the work that has to be done, it's more emotional, mental, spiritual than the financial, all of these layers. I've had women tell me that they spent $85,000 out of their $100,000 income on hair.
No.
And so there's a correlation between the mental and emotional unrest with us about how we perceive ourselves. And Black Rose actually was one of my speakers when we launched Unveiled Unlocked. When we did the launching, we did a short film, and we also did a panel discussion about this same very thing. And the Odessa models were the ones in the 60s that did the whole Black is beautiful, afros, and the fists up in the air. And so I'm always talking about the historically relevant parts to our beauty and how it has evolved and how it's de-evolved.
Right.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. Can I have the lady that spoke before? I think it's Michelle. Did you say Febreze causes cancer?
This is what the doctor from Johns Hopkins was providing us a list of products that provided, you know, that they found to cause cancer, and Febreze was one of them. She pointed that out, as a matter of fact.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
You know how many products we probably use that cause cancer? And we have
I know.
Helen, there are about 50,000 chemicals we use, and very few of them are regulated by government. So the chemical companies have major influence over products to make sure that people don't know. It's a major industry nobody pays attention to. And the other one is the phone companies, because a lot of people don't know with the phones. You should be, all the time, you should be 10 feet away from the 5G because of the radiation coming from it. And we're probably going to see what's happening in a couple of years, particularly with young people who have phones upside their heads.
Yeah,
so these companies do know what's going on.
Probably for like 3 years in a row. Every picture you see of me, there's a Bluetooth hanging in my ear. I don't use them anymore. But yeah, so that's a whole nother topic that we can get into. Thank you so much. Who was next? I forgot who was next. Who did I say was next?
Me.
Who is me?
Anastasia.
My Anastasia.
Anastasia.
Hello, my love.
Hey. Hi, Helen. Hi, everybody. I think this has been really good to hear everyone's stories today, because in a sense, it makes me realize that I've had really like superficial or aesthetic based hair problems, you know, and I never thought about the fact that you can have like medical hair problems, and that's kind of scary, but it makes me just feel great.
You're fading,
for what I have, and that might be poorly at this point. But nevertheless, of course, it's been really emotional. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, when I was in university, I went natural. Yeah, based off of, you know, wanting to reconnect with my roots and just be my authentic self. But it was really traumatic just to experience how people like in my country reacted to me. I would say that because of the social aspect of it, I was natural for like loose natural for about 5 years or so. And I would say maybe 50% of the time I was like fully content with it and fully loving it. The other 50%, it was a real struggle. And I think that's because I felt like it was too isolated. Like the amount of young women going natural was not enough to cause the kind of full revolution of hair that I wanted to see personally, so that, you know, even the Black celebrities and stuff, the standard for glamour would stop being these long weaves and these textures that don't resemble our natural texture, and it would start being more natural textures, you know. So I envision that like 90% of all Black women in the world should be natural in order for it to change the system, in order for it to change our internalized lies, you know, and in order for it to be more normalized that like this is our beauty, we just have a different form of beauty. And so ever since I locked my hair, ended up locking my hair, it's been like 1.5 years now. I've been happier than I've ever been in my life, and I can't understand it. And I think is both the fact that locks still gives me like length, like that drops, you know, hair that falls, and you can toss it, you can ponytail it. It frames your face a different way than my afro did, you know. And I kind of feel bad about it because I feel like, okay, I love my locks now, but what happens 10 years from now if I get tired of having locks? Like, what do I do then? Because I feel like I'm going to be thrown right back into, I can't mentally bring myself to wear a 30-inch straight wig. I feel like I would be betraying everything I stand for. But to have a fro again when I feel like the revolution never happened, I feel like it would just be going through that journey all over again. And I don't want to face the question of whether I truly love my natural texture in Afro form, you know? And I just feel really comfortable to say it on this call, and I'd love to hear, you know, if anybody has.
Can I chime in on that? Can I chime on that? Thank you for your truth, first of all, because that's how we get to shift our paradigm, is being able to have our truth show up. So I'll say this. One, as a woman, you can't be consumed about what 10 years from now you're going to think is an aesthetic, because you're going to change your mindset, your lifestyle, all those things are going to change. So if you are in the present, be embracing that, because you got enough going on in the present to not have to then add to your stress of thinking about the future. And there are, by the way, different styles of afros. No afro is all the same. They're not all the same round. There are tapered afros, there are semi-shaved afros. So you know, the hair is an art form, and we're in a time now that the art form is really going to the next level for the natural hair industry. So you have other options, and you have professionals that can also guide you through that. So when it comes down to you starting to look at your identity or wondering about those who are in the business. Because of this Crown Act also, you're going to start seeing people in journalism who are going to go natural because they don't have the stigma anymore. So in the public front, as long as that act and some of those other bills are going to be passed, what's going to start changing is those people who are coming on the front line will start changing their identity and unapologetically showing up without having that hold or that pushback. So it's changing as we speak. The other part of it is when it comes down to your identity, you could be the change maker that you're not seeing. You don't ever have to wait for other people to do that. If you see a need for it, that was telling you as a message right there that it was time for you to stand forward, because how many others like you are in a silence about the very same thing? And when you speak out, you're speaking on behalf of all those others silent.
Anastasia, you can tell me no. You have two stories that you've told me about your hair. If you would share one or both of them. One was with your peers when you went home and how they reacted to your hair. The other was when you were doing the modeling shoot also in Trinidad. So you don't have to share either of those stories, but interesting, I thought. You can say no.
Yeah. I don't mind. Just, I grew up in Trinidad. I'm from Trinidad, and there's so much issues with both colorism and texturism in Trinidad that it's kind of made me resentful of my country a bit, even though I know it's everywhere. But yeah, to speak to this story you were talking about, Helen, particularly when I had friends from school straight up. We were friends for years. One of them, I watched her give birth. I would bring things from America and, give it to them. And so I was really disheartened when I went back last year and I said, okay, we're gonna hang out together. We're gonna rent a room and we're gonna celebrate our country's Independence Day together. And I just realized that they had a level of jealousy towards me that I had not noticed for a long time. For as long as I knew them, I didn't realize that this is where it got. And so they, I went back to Trinidad with my locks for the first time. And of course, like I said, I was feeling more confident with my locks than I ever did with my loose hair. And they just kind of made it a focal point of the whole entire evening. We were going to the pool and they just kept talking about if I want to wet my locks, and it just fixated on it. And then the conversation turned to a question about Black hair. And then they were saying these things that I didn't realize that's how they thought, implying that Black women are inferior because of our hair. And so, of course, these were two friends. One was what we call a Dougla, which is Black and Indian. So she has big, loose curls, long hair. The other one is an Indian. So, straight hair. So I was like, you see all this crap about sisterhood? I have no sisterhood with y'all. Women of color, I have no sisterhood with y'all. My sisterhood is with Black women, period. Because for you to sit there and berate me about my hair, I'm supposed to be your close friend, and y'all really think that you're better than us because of your hair. And it just screams insecurity. Clearly it screams insecurity. And yeah, that was basically the end of the friendship right there. But, it just goes to show how deep something that it should be so trivial and so superficial, but because it's associated with our beauty as women, it puts us in competition in a sense. And it takes a long time to unlearn that,
And that's the other thing with locks, they're antennas and they are also spiral-X, and so they go in the direction of the planets. You are attracting like a magnet all kinds of energy. And sometimes what you'll learn in this journey being a woman is you have to create your script of pushback when people who are ignorant come in your space. And the sometimes is people that you know and think you know well. And sometimes you also have to learn and realize too that sometimes people come in your life not for a lifetime. So there's going to be transitions that are going to always be happening, and it's going to give you room for next and new. So they did you a favor in a way. So I always say to myself, in a minute, I'm going to be thankful.
Yeah.
Because now I have a new reality.
But listen, Ms. Brown, we were speaking earlier, you talked about because I said so many women say when they cut their hair, we were talking about, I did the big chop and it was the best thing I ever did. And I feel so free. And you talked about energies that we have in our hair. So can you talk about that a little?
So first of all, hair has DNA. DNA has memory. When you are going through any kind of toxicity from a relationship to just even your own self-identity, your hair is like a magnet. It's static energy. It's going to cling to all of those thoughts, all of those feelings, all of those emotions. When you cut your hair, it's a new beginning. So you're cutting off and disconnecting and unplugging from all the energies that your hair absorbed during its growing pattern, which is why you feel lighter, even from an aromatherapy to a massage. When weight is in stress. There's 5 pounds of weight in stress. When you remove stress, you feel lighter, right? That's why when you get a massage or you smell some aroma that's sweet, it's going to lift you. Same thing with the hair cutting. So it's all connected to the vibrational energy. It's all in tune to how we are, which is why it always feels like a fresher start.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I remembered to bring that. Anastasia, love you, girl. Thank you. We ain't gonna ask you, so that thing with the photographer too. Well, we're pressed for time, but that was a good story.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Thanks, Helen.
Darling. Miss Edmondson, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. And I just want to say this has been phenomenal.
Okay.
I am very happy to be natural. And I just want to say a few things. I also, too, was a little girl with a lot of thick, long hair. When I got ready to go to college, I wanted to cut my hair because I became a swimming instructor at 17 years old. And I did not want anything to get in my way. I had a career in aquatics from 17 to 40. I wore my hair short. When I first cut my hair, both of my grandmothers were here, and the eldest one said, she looks fabulous, brings out her high cheekbones, brings out the Indian in her. My father was devastated, but you know what? I've heard that too. Women, our hair is our crown and glory. But let me tell you, when I cut my hair off, I felt like I was like, what does Muhammad Ali say? Sting like a bee. And that's exactly how I felt. And for years, I wore my hair cut short. I was the first person, I would say, in my arena that grew locks. People didn't even know what locks were. When I got tired of locks, I cut my hair short. And I am the sister who will be cutting her hair for barehead women, because during the pandemic, I have allowed my hair to grow because I wanted to see what the gray would look like. Last year, I turned 62. I lost both my parents 9 years ago. It's about me and me only. And I also want to say something else. When Bo Derek came out with braids, it was when the corporate America started to accept Black women with braids, okay? Also, too, a lot of women are very jealous of the versatility that Black women can wear their hair, baby.
That's why I'm telling you, I wear one way one just to mess with them.
And you know what? I did the same thing when I'm a sign language interpreter as well as an artist, and I had an opportunity to interpret in the Outer Banks, and I was the only Black in the school I was working at, and I went there with my hair cut short. When I wrapped my head in gay lace, they had a problem. So I decided to lock my hair, and I did not let it look natural. I let it look as wild as it could be, and I was very proud of it. Also, too, a lot of women who get their hair woven, when they wear hair, what do you call it, when it's woven into your hair and it's natural and it's other people's hair, they need to look at that, because you're wearing hair of energy of somebody else and you have no idea what that person was about. Another thing, Jerry Dinn was the first Black hair place in Harlem to cut Black people's hair. I also have my license in cutting hair so that I could cut my hair myself, okay? And the reason why a lot of men don't know how to cut women's hair, because when we go to the barber, we don't tell him how to cut our hair, okay? And the reason why some women look at themselves later is because a man will cut your hairline, and that will give you a masculine look. You must maintain your hairline, which is in the front. And I also too lived in Ghana for 5 years, and that is true. Little girls do have their hair cut short so that they can stay focused, and I think that's fabulous. And now that we're all talking about wearing our hair natural, I invite all of you to learn how to swim if you don't know how. And I'm done. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
So Ramani is who introduced me to you all, because Ramani invited me to the first talk that you guys did. So that's how I knew about you guys, through Ramani, and we're friends. So she's actually going to be doing some yoga head exercises on the 4-day conference with us for the crown celebration of our 10-year anniversary with Unveiled Unlocked. And she's sign interpreting one of my poems when we do our performance at Harlem Week.
Make sure you're dropping that in the chat. I have Ramani. I don't. This is the first time you've talked to me, isn't it?
No, I did. Did you do the thing on love?
On who?
Was it on love?
We here every week. I don't know. We haven't done. I'm glad you said that. The segue. Mark your calendars, ladies, on April 21st, which is a Thursday, not a Sunday. We are going to have a gathering with Black men and Black women to talk about us, our relationships, how we communicate, how we protect one another, what do we want from each other. So please mark your calendar. It'll be 6:30. It'll be on a Thursday because we will not meet on the 24th. And I just want us to have some time where it's a different time for us. So we will be inviting men into the circle, and please, invite men as well. I'll send you out a link. And we're going to make that happen. So thank you, Ms. Edmondson. We'll see you again. And you know what? Can we talk for a minute, Ms. Brown? We haven't talked about how men play into our hair. Is it because she mentioned her father? Because, I was surprised when she said her grandmother didn't mind her cutting her hair, because for the most part, it's like, don't cut your hair. You're going to look like a boy. But how many of us, and I have women, friends who I know, whose husbands or boyfriends tell them, don't cut your hair. I remember when I did what would be my big chop, if you will. The guy that I was dating, I didn't tell him. I went to the hairdresser. I came home. we weren't living together, but when he came over, I had, no hair. I had a lot less hair. He didn't say a word, which meant that he didn't approve of it.
Well, I mean, that's how I launched Unveiled Unlocked. I was dating a guy, and the day before my birthday, he dumped me because I cut all my locks off, and he didn't like the whole no hair thing. And I'm sitting at a traffic light a couple of days later, boo-hooing about this. And then I started thinking about all the women I've ever seen devastated about their rejection, their hair, and all of these identities. And I never had issue about hair, no hair. My locks were to my ankle. I've had perms. I've had, you name it, I've done it, right? But this one day, when the epiphany hit, I started asking men in Starbucks and other places, have you ever dated a woman with no hair? Would you date a woman with no hair? And to my surprise, a lot of women would be leaning in to hear the responses of these men. 9 out of 10 men would bite their bottom lip, stare up at the ceiling, and reflect about a beautiful woman that they did have an experience with no hair. And so it charged my brain to really have this as a launch pad for making a difference or a change on this, because my father, I remember him telling me he didn't like the cornrows I had. And I was 9 or 10. I had just spent 8 hours in my cousin's chair with these braids getting done. And I said, well, get used to it because I'm going to wear them even more now. It's almost like it sort of forces you into your rites of passage about unapologetically showing up and letting other folks know what you won't tolerate about what they think of your aesthetic. So with the hair cutting thing, I've gotten statistics that more women who are white, who are in marriages and lose their hair to health issues, 80% of them lose the marriage. With Black women who are in marriages, if they lose their hair during the marriage, maybe 30% of them lost the marriage. But for the most part, the Black men embraced women with no hair. So there are a number of people on this planet that are charged by this aesthetic on the outside. And I had a Muslim woman say to me, where were you when my mother was alive? Because her father was moved into the next bedroom in the house because the mother lost her hair to an illness. And the family rallied together and said, when you gained weight and lost hair, she didn't leave you. How are you just dismantling 35 years of a marriage with a woman who's devoted herself to you and the whole family? And so there's all these emotional strikes on how people are charged by their emotions and then their actions follow suit. So it is again why I started educating people on this whole thing about what is beauty, and it's deeper than skin.
It hurts my heart to think that her husband moved out the room. That just, ugh.
You know, but that's why we also have the $1 trillion spending in, excuse me, like, you know, for you know, the $1 trillion hair spending for, is to attract the Black male gaze. Like that's pretty much it. And I don't think that it's not gonna slow down. It hasn't.
Well, be surprised. That Crown Act is doing some different things to the psyche right now and is really launching a whole different discussion, but also having social media and this pandemic has really changed the paradigm. Because remember, like the sister said earlier, when you didn't have access to your beauty consultants and salons because you were on lockdown, you had to start embracing your beauty on a whole different level. So don't take for granted that how many things during this pandemic have shape-shifted. So do embrace that there may be a paradigm shift with the Crown Act. The pandemic has caused people to embrace their inner beauty, their natural beauty, and then being on social platforms. We're not less on social media with this pandemic. We're actually more because of these Zooms. So
we can have the
changing.
Crown Act. We can have the Crown Act, but when we see the images on television, on social media, that's
going to start changing.
Brenda,
but it's starting to change.
Just real quick, ladies, just real quick. There actually is a study regarding Black women being more overweight than anybody else in terms of the population. And it's associated with the fact that exercise, and a lot of people don't want to exercise because they don't want to mess up their hair. So hopefully, going back to your point, Aletha, about the Crown Act and some of the changes that result of COVID, and I think there were a lot of good things came out of COVID, is that it'll force people to maybe reconsider the fact of doing exercise. Because if that's all is keeping us from having a larger number of in terms of populations, we have the largest number that's overweight, and it's Black women. All because
before the pandemic. We've been overweight before the pandemic as well.
So hopefully that'll change.
But also too, that is also what has kept a lot of women from actually really being able to enjoy themselves when they go on trips to the beach or they go to the pool. Many of them have not know how to swim because of that, which is unfortunate.
Right.
I thought you were going to talk about sex and how people, you know, they're like restrained because they don't want their hair to mess up.
Well, but you know, you're joking about that, but that's exactly what Chris Rock's movie. I don't know how other people felt about his documentary, and I meant to watch it again before we came today. And I don't know what his motive for doing it was. Some people think he's anti-Black women. I don't know.
No, it was for his daughters. He was trying to set an example for his daughters.
When I watched that, I was embarrassed to be a Black woman because of the amount of money that we were spending on our hair, because it almost suggested that we were compromising ourselves and our bodies to get a hairdo.
Right, like I think there was this part in the film where like she spent her rent money.
Yes.
It made me so then, you know, and so then we can go back to what Anastasia would say, why? And I don't know why. You know, why would women, and we talk about Black women, so let's just be clear. why would Black women think that my hair is so important that I would spend my rent money on my hair? Or that, you know, some guy, you're gonna pay for my hair and then you can't touch it. Like, are you serious?
Well, here's the thing.
Because Black beauty, I think it's limited. Like, we don't have, like, when it comes to other races of women, they have other things that they can lean on to like get reinforcement for their beauty provided by their men. Black women don't have that. We have to do that for ourselves. Our men don't do that for us. So we have to do that. So we don't.
I hear you.
I also want to jump in. Can I also say something else?
In terms of what we see on TV and in the movies, in terms of to dictate how we should look. Because it wasn't maybe in the last 10 years that Black women even started wrapping their heads in gele. They wasn't wrapping their heads, you know, and being proud to wear African attire. So it's about the beauty it's within you that becomes the outer you. Because I didn't always wear makeup, and I don't wear makeup. I love lipstick and like maybe a black eyeliner on my eyes. But when I wear my hair cut short, I love the naturalness. And today you have actually, because I've been straddling whether or not I'm going to get my hair cut. June 3rd, Miss Aleathia Brown, I will be sitting in the chair. Thank you very much, ladies.
Well, I was going to say, let us not negate the transatlantic slave was also some of the torture that they did, dipping our head in lye, bleach, and really trying to torture and torment us about our beauty, even when we had to wear rags and wrap our heads. Exactly. When we had to, it was always some part of this by design to diminish us. And if anything was attracting the white slaveholder, it was another part of us that was also dismantled. Don't think that, like I said, DNA has memory. So all of the things that happened from that far back are still happening. If we don't reprogram ourselves, we're going to continue that ill legacy about what identity and beauty and value is, which is why I'm saying it is important for us to own the conversation and then take action steps moving forward. It's not a 1-2 punch. So although I'm saying to you that the Crown Act is one part on the bucket, there's also other components to this, like us having these conversations and then taking actions. Every year for the past 6-7 years, I've been doing Global Barehead Beauty Day because I'm also charging barbershops all over the world to now celebrate and illuminate cutting of hair for men and women. There's other ways we can start putting this forward because you know the power of numbers. When we start transmitting this into action, then there's no stopping it. So it's just finding ways to begin throwing that pebble down that hill so it can build up momentum. We can't do just one thing.
Thank you.
I have a hair story. I'm late, but I have to tell the hair story.
Quickly, because I want to get through. Thank you.
Yeah, there's some other people who want to.
Wait, one second, Brenda. I'm sorry, Brenda, you had your hand up. So did you ask the question that you?
No, I mean, I just wanted to, just say my, point, and, thank you for having this, space. It's just unfortunate that, we had the Black hair care movement, and here we are in 2022, and it just feels like we're just in a state of inertia when we're at $1 trillion spending habit on hair, putting generations of non-Black children through Ivy League institutions. It's too far gone. I just think that, we don't have our men, creating, institutions that, that are dedicated to Black beauty in the aesthetic where it's not like biracial or like ambiguity, like authentic Blackness, that's gone as well. So I just think that as far as like, see Blackness as beauty, how you want to see it. Like, I just feel like it becomes too much. Like for me, like, I just think that, what makes you, do what gives you your soul peace. Like that's, how I see it. Because, I've been to some barbers that were anti-Black women hair, wearing very short hair too. It's like, whoa, like.
That's what made me become a barber for that same thing. Yeah. So I wouldn't have to be faced with that kind of prejudice. Yeah.
Right.
I think when Miss Edmondson was talking, it made me think of my mom because I grew up in the 70s. And do y'all remember they would tell you to cut your baby hair? So when you know me, and my mother used to say, no, you don't never cut your baby hair. And they'd be like, hell, you got hair on your neck. I don't know. And was it you, Miss Hermione, was saying?
That was called the kitchen.
Yeah, but people, but my mother always said, don't cut it. And other people, but that was the thing. You didn't have hair growing on your neck. It's like it's your hair, but anyway.
Like sideburns, yeah. But then like in the 90s, the baby hairs were like here, and then they went away. And now the baby hairs are like another wig now.
That is not baby hair. That's hair that's left. Hair. Let's be clear. They calling it baby hair, but that's hair where they ruined their hairline and they're pulling out whatever. That girl, stop! Don't get me started on that one. I'm like, what is this? But anyway, thank you, Miss Brenda. Please come again.
Helen, my hand is not raised, but I like to tell my story after other ladies.
Okay, let me, I'm sorry. So let me do this. Linda, tell your story, because I forgot I cut you off and you were getting ready to tell us your story because I wanted to make sure that I had gotten Miss Brenda. So Linda, tell your story. Anita, tell yours, and then we have, so this is it.
Okay.
Linda, Anita, Samantha, and then Gloria. Okay.
Just for Brenda, you forgot our beauty has been co-opted. They say they talk about us not having beauty, but everybody co-opted. But my story is, it was at a lawyer's event, and the gentleman who talked about nappy head basketball players for Rutgers. I can't remember his name, but he talked about Black women having nappy head. Right. And so I decided that I was gonna pick my hair out as far as it could go, and where as natural as I can get it. And I was all dressed up in the lawyer's outfit. But I picked it all out, and I went to this Black women lawyers event, and they were, you could see their faces, because I'm proud of having nappy hair. I'm cool with it. But everybody in the room was either pressed or relaxed, or they had the hair that they put in. And so I decided that I'm a proud nappy-headed Black woman. And I'm glad he said that, because it made people realize. But when I walked in the room, oh my God, you can just feel the energy, like, what are you doing? You're feeding into what he said. And like, I'm a Black person. This is how my hair grew out of my head. Yeah. Duh. So anyway, that was my story.
Black men to defend Black women when he said that. He would have never said that about another group. But where were the Black men to push against? Why he was able to? He knew that he would have been able to get away with that. And then we had Al Sharpton, who has a pressing curl to
But my point was that
Here she go, and brother Al. Brenda, don't talk about his presence.
He made a pact with James Brown to not get, he made a pact with James Brown. But the reason why this is going, Black men have not upheld Black beauty. They have not, and that's why we are where we are.
So
I would say, let's be mindful. You can't blanket a statement, Black men, like that's saying all. There are some that do support us. In fact, the one who shaved my hair when I had, but you're saying they don't, as if none do. Let's give credit where it's due.
Them don't.
And but how do we know the majority? We have an impactful group. Look at what's happening. Television and sports have an influence on the kind of aesthetic that men lean towards when it comes down to women. Look at even in the sports and entertainment, you see often Black men dating mixed race women, white women, Spanish women, Asian women, right? So there are those stigmas. I'm not discounting that, but what I'm saying is, let's be just mindful of how we're blanketing that statement, because whether it's a few or many is not what I was pointing out, is that there are some that do support us. That I'm just giving credit where some of it is due.
But they don't extend that olive branch to us. It's just, they don't say some Black women, they say Black women. They say, Black women are single mothers. Like, they don't give us at that some. We don't.
But I hear what you're saying, Miss Brenda, and that is going to be one of the topics that we can address when we have our brothers in the room. What we can talk about that. What is beauty and interracial dating, all of that. We can hit it all. So.
Yeah, but I don't think that they can tell us what beauty is. They can't tell us.
No, that's not what I hear you saying. I hear you saying that they don't respect our beauty. That's what I hear you saying. And you know what? And I'm going to say that I won't, okay, we're not even going to get into it because we get into a whole nother conversation. But just as we can look at them and we know what we like in a man, they look at us and know what they like in us. So
right, and then so go over there when it's time to protest and when it's time to like deal with
I get it
with the preference and have them stand on the front lines, have them do that because that's just not me.
All right.
So
we got Miss Wade, Miss Kingwood, and then Gloria. Thank you, Brenda, again. Miss Wade, where are you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. How is everyone? A lot of what I wanted to speak on has been brought up previously by all the previous speakers, but I have alopecia. I'm not completely bareheaded. I have shaved my hair down, but I had enough, and I believe that we are not our hair. However, it took me a number of years to get to that. Once I started losing my hair, it wasn't an immediate thing because I came from the, our hair is our crowning glory, belief as well. But because my hair didn't come out all at once, I had a number of years to kind of think about what was I going to do when I got to that point. Would I wear a wig? Well, I put that out because no disrespect to anyone who does, but it feels creepy to me to wear someone else's hair. I decided I wasn't going to get steroid injections in my scalp because I'd rather be bald than to have steroids injected into my system and have acne and weight gain and all of that. And so it took me a number of years. So on the morning that I got up and I decided that I was going to have my hair shaved, I didn't tell anyone. I went to the barbershop. I sat in a chair and I told him that I wanted him to shave my hair off and what I wanted him to do. And I cried my eyes out until he was done. And when he was done, I looked in the mirror and I felt just so, like they say, free. I felt that freedom. I came home, I took a shower and I got dressed and I went to a party and I have never looked back. And I feel really good about it and I feel confident. I think one reason that people don't approach me, I hear a lot of women in a lot of alopecia groups say that people ask them if they have cancer or if they're sick. And I've never gotten that. And I think part of it is that I've been in a fashion industry. And so they assume it's part of my look, and not that that there was a health reason behind it. I was really fine, but I was very disappointed after the Chris Rock joke because so many people dismiss the trauma behind hair loss because they said it's not cancer or why can't she just wear a wig and many other things. And no, it's not cancer. I believe it was even in this group that someone made that type of comment. And I commented, no, you're right. It's not cancer, but that doesn't mean that the trauma that people feel is not real or not valid. And that's something I had to work through myself because I was spending a lot of time concerned about my hair and hiding the fact that I was losing my hair and things like that. And one day I just decided that I don't want this to be my issue. And once I decided that was the day that I got up and went to the barbershop and cut it off. And it hasn't been my issue, but I was very triggered by the meanness that I felt was directed towards Jada because of the fact that she wore her hair bald versus putting on a wig, like someone said, like 90% of the other women there.
Bill Maher was very insensitive in his comments. Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people who are saying that,
So this is what I'm talking about. This is the hair bullying that we experience. And as Black women, by and large, we're under attack more often by across the board, everything from our own culture. And I find that women have been the most difficult when it came down to sensitivity and embracing us for just showing up, and will question and say the most verbally unintelligent things to another woman they don't even know. And it's really gotta be the thing that we do the inner work on in our own circles, is to change that idea that you get to assault somebody verbally because of their difference. And you know, when the sister just said about how men are, well, I could tell you from just my collective, and when we were at the height of our programs, there was at least 150 of us in New York alone, and it wasn't one did not tell a story starting with how many women verbally attack them about what they look like in their family as well as in their community. So we also have, again, what did the transatlantic slave do? Taught us how to beat on ourselves and do all the damage to ourselves so they didn't have to. So it's still there and it still lingers, and we need to have a reprogramming. That's what Harriet Tubman did. She reprogrammed to prepare those enslaved to freedom, and we haven't got to hear freedom yet.
And, you know, to just piggyback on that, one of the other things I want to point out is I come from the generation where if you had your hair braids or if you were wearing natural or whatever, you took the braids out because you were job interviewing. And I cannot tell you, I think it's been Black people who are more opposed to the braids or the natural hair in these corporate settings, right, than white folks, particularly with braids, because white people say, oh my God, your hair is so beautiful. And, you know, so we do have work to do. So, and I remember when I first started wearing not first, I had been in Africa. So when you you ever go to Africa, everything's healthy when you come back, your skin, your hair, everything, because you don't date. I just think being out of the country, so I can't even say just Africa, I just think being out of the United States, you come back a healthier person. And this sister in Philadelphia, she says to me, oh my God, you're so brave to wear your hair like that. I'm like, it's an afro. And this was in Philly, right? And this was in 2014. So I never forgot that. But anyway, thank you, Miss Wade. Are you local? You're local, aren't you, Miss Wade?
I am here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Yes, I know. Now I'm looking. I'm like, I know who she is. Hey, Miss Wade.
Hey.
I didn't know you had alopecia. We can talk later because and we're not going to get caught off into the Chris Rock thing. But I don't think he knew she had alopecia.
I agree. He may not have known, but I think that once he found out, he should apologize.
Oh, okay. And we can talk about it later. But I think at that moment, I mean, that was just my take on it. And, you know, because once he said it, he said something like, it was a G.I. Jane joke, you know. I really didn't think, and I don't know him personally, but he just doesn't seem like he's a vicious, mean person like that. So that was just that's a whole nother horrible situation.
That is another conversation because I think he's kind of mean.
Yeah, well,
I think he's the bully that he complains about being bullied a lot, but I think he's a bully.
Well, one of my girlfriends swears he tells all these anti-Black women jokes, and she said Will Smith slapped him for every Black woman. But anyway, we're not going to get caught up. Thank you, Ms. Wade.
Miss King is on. She has
Miss Kingwood. I understand that she's like family. I don't know you, but you know, you Phyllis is people, you family for me. Hi, Miss Kingwood.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank my cousin Phyllis for giving me the opportunity to inviting me. Oh my goodness, this is there's no words really to express how I'm feeling right now. I have tears of joy, first thing first. I have a semi different scenario that happened to me. I have a lot of gray hair and I'm really embarrassed about it. So this group here is helping uplift me. You know, I cry like, because out of the family members, I'm the only one that have all this gray hair. And, you know, some of my siblings, they may joke about it, but I'm not joking. I'm crying inside. So I think this, we need more conversations like this. And I'm so grateful. You know, you have no idea. And, you know, I could just keep going on and on of how I'm feeling. And, you know, I'm traumatized from this gray hair. And when I go to the salon, they embarrass me so much because I don't want to go. And I do wear the wigs. I wish I can have my natural hair. But like I said, my own space.
Can I say something to you, sis? Can I say something to you, sis? There are color specialists that they literally have done specialized training in coloring the natural hair, so you don't have to put chemicals in it, but you can actually do a consultation with a colorist so that they can figure out for you how to actually embrace the tones in the silver, or to take it down a shade so it's not fully gray, but you can actually talk to them about what transition you would want to make, because you really need to talk to specialists who that's what they do for a living, so that you have the best care and it keeps your hair healthy at the same time. So send my email is in the chat. You can email me and I'll put you in touch with. Where are you located?
I'm located in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, perfect. So so the sister who I know just retired, I'm sure she can recommend me to someone for you. She's in Queens. So just send me an email and I'll connect you with her. And we have barbers that also have wives that cut their hair. So the right cut and the right color can actually transform your whole energy from what it is.
Thank you. And please keep me posted.
For a reason, she got a head.
Samantha, that I've had gray hair since I was 9 years old.
Yes.
And you know, it's just I can't imagine not having it. I've had it for 50-something, almost 60 years.
Wow,
I've
that's
had it
good.
for 60 years. So I'm just saying that, you know, embrace the gray. I know it's hard for some people. It's just never been it's just always been with me. So I've had no choice.
Yes.
But gray is hot. Let me tell you, I got 19, 20-year-olds trying to hit on me. I'm like, can't you tell? Look at my hair. So,
let me say something.
That's kind of my situation as well. But you know, but from a person from the inner thought, you know, embracing it and dealing with my own trauma. That's what I'm trying to, you know, express. And this is well needed. And please keep my email. When you have another group, definitely let me know. I would love to participate. Thank you.
Let me say this to you, Miss Kingwood. My grandmother was premature to get gray. She had pretty salt pepper, probably about 35 or so. My mother longed for gray hair. And my mother died at 45 and she didn't have gray hair. And I think when she started getting chemotherapy, maybe she got a little bit of gray hair. But I wish my girlfriend Laverne was on this call. Honey, she got the most beautiful gray hair. She rocks it with mucho confidence. And she used to tell me, you can't use, and Charlene, I don't know if Charlene's still on the call, and maybe Miss Brown, you can even speak to it, but you know, when you have gray hair, you want to keep it beautiful, so you don't use all kinds of shampoos. And so, girl, wear your gray hair. I almost want to tell you, I almost want to tell you, liberate yourself today and take your wig off right here, right now. But I'm not.
Oh, never.
I'm not going
to. I haven't reached that plateau yet, but I'm working on reaching that plateau.
So listen, when you take that wig off, I want you to let me know so we can put you on Spotlight and you can make your debut right here.
So we call that when you do Wobia, women bear it all.
Oh.
So when you're ready.
And you're right in these ladies, so they'll be happy to work with you. And Phyllis is like she could be my daughter. She just don't know it. But
oh yes.
I do have to say one thing, because I'm again, this is Charlene. And I with Sister Samantha here about being sensitive to your gray hair. I understand, only because there are many women who are not proud of where they are with their hair care. So you need to seek out those who will be sensitive to you. And when you're ready for your transition to whatever you want to embrace, go to somebody who understands your feeling. It's okay not to like it. It's okay to embrace it. You know, of course, we're going to be in favor of embracing it. But if you're not ready, you're just not ready. And so when you're ready, go to someone who is sensitive to how you feel.
That's why I said I'm going to connect her with a colorist, because she specializes in that. I remembered watching her do consultations with people who were in the same state Samantha is in, who were really brokenhearted about that and how she transformed them. and it was just like night and day. So having the right people on your team really can transform how you are also looking at yourself in the mirror. So I'm not even trying to convert you to embrace or not embrace the gray. I'm inviting you to actually get someone who can actually give you some options that you can work with.
Yeah.
Thank
first and
you.
foremost.
I appreciate it. Thank you for all the feedback. Thank you. Nice meeting you, ladies.
You too, Samantha. We'll see you again. Hopefully on this.
Welcome, Cousin Candy.
Thank you, cousin. Love you. Thank you.
I see you over here. You know what? I always forget to reach out, and we're going to wrap this up because it's 6:30, y'all. I always forget to reach out to the people on the phone. So I don't know if anybody on the phone wanted to speak up, but I see Ginger. Did you want to say something, Ginger?
It looks like her audio is still connecting.
Hi, this is Ginger. I'm on the phone and the computer, but my sound on the computer is really bad, so I have to do both. Hi, I just wanted to give you my hair story. When I was a junior in high school, my girlfriend, my brother's girlfriend, was going to Irvington High School, and I had her put like a curl on my hair, and she was saying that I already had a chemical in my hair and I shouldn't do it. Well, she did it with this big bald spot formed on the top of my head. And my uncle was a barber, so when a little bit of the hair grew back in, I said, Uncle Tommy, just cut it all off. So from my junior year and my senior year in high school, I wore a short afro, and I was the only girl in high school with the afro, and it didn't bother me. So now I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she was born with a head full of hair. So, and her hair is natural. And when she was in elementary school, all her classmates, the females, wanted to know, why is your hair like that? Why don't you have a perm? And so I told her that there's nothing wrong with your hair, that this is how your hair grows, and your hair is beautiful the way it is. And so this is what she started saying to the young ladies. And so she still wears her hair natural, but at this point, she wants to get her hair straightened because she's never really had it straightened. And so I'm probably going to let her do it just one time to get out of her system, so when she goes off to college, she won't go someplace and damage all of her hair. So I wanted to share another story. My supervisor, when I was working, she told me the story about a lady who had extensions in her hair, and she went to the doctor. She was bleeding, and the doctor started asking her questions. He said, "Is that your hair, or is it extensions?" She said, "It's extensions." And so he said, "Well, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take the extensions out of your hair and come back to me in a week." So when she came back to him in a week, he said, "Well, how's the bleeding?" She said, "The bleeding stopped." So he said, "Whoever hair that you had in your hair had a bleeding problem. So your body developed a bleeding problem because of the hair." So we as women, have to be very careful about using human hair, because you don't know what kind of medical problem this person has had on their hair in their body. And what other comment I wanted to make? I think there was a few people on the line who mentioned that they had alopecia. I know a woman out of Maryland. I did put her information in the chat. Her name is Barbara Frank. She has reversed alopecia, and if you go to her website, barbarafrank222.com, she will tell you that the alopecia is from parasites. There's a video on YouTube called Monsters Inside Me. And if you watch that video, you'll learn about the different parasites in the body. And once the body is eliminated of the parasites, the hair will grow back. She tells a story of a person who had alopecia, and they sat in someone's car, and the back of their head was on the back seat of the back of the car, and someone else sat there, and they developed developed alopecia. She said it's parasites, and it can be eliminated, and she has products that can do that for you. And I wish you everyone success with their hair journey. My hair is natural and it's gray, and when I look at pictures, I like the way it looks. When I look in the mirror, I don't like it. But I'm embracing where I am at this point in my life. So I have sensitive skin. I can't get it dyed. So I'm just going to embrace my gray hair. And I just, hope that we all can embrace the journey that we're on. When I was a freshman in high school, my girlfriend's mother came up to the school, and I thought she had the most beautiful gray hair I ever seen. And so I prayed that day. I said, God, when my hair turns gray, just let me receive and accept where I am at that point in my life. And the prayer is working. I still have the gray hair. I got this shampoo that someone told me about. I can't remember the name right now, but it's purple, and it makes the gray hair look real nice and silvery instead of looking dull. Like one of last summer, a friend said, "Girl, your hair looks yellow." I said, "What?" She said, "Go get this shampoo." So I went and got it, and so now the gray looks nice and shiny.
That's what my friend said. Any shampoo, that's why people have that ugly looking yellow gray hair. She tell you her hair is gorgeous. Thank you, Miss Ginger. Miss Gloria, I'm sorry, I jumped right over you. Girl, you know I love you. I forgot about you. Tell us your story, and thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, I'm going to say hello to all you beautiful ladies, and this is a very good, informative session. My story is when I grew up, I had real thick, long hair, and as a young adult as well. And I've had my hair press and curl, relax, weaved, braids, or whatever. But as I'm aging, well, I'm seasoning. I don't mind the short hair. I just don't mind. My problem is I have thinning spots. It's not like it's all over. And I've been to a dermatologist. I did Rogaine and got hair on my face. That won't work. I did another solution that smelled horrible. It's not devastating. I love my gray hair. And if the spots wasn't there, I'd wear it short. It's beautiful. My head's shaped nice to have it, but I wear wigs, hats, or whatever. And that's my story, is if it wasn't, if I didn't have those spots, you know. But I'm beautiful anyway. And I know that. And inside and out. So, but I wish the spots wasn't there.
Can somebody tell me how to get? I have hair that I refuse. I don't live anywhere where I can burn my hair, but I have my hair from every time I cut it. And I'm scared to like throw it away because there's all these stories about what happens if somebody gets hold of your hair.
Oh,
and I got like, no. What do I do to dispose of all this hair I've had?
Hey, Linda, just send it to me, Linda. You won't know what I Nobody will burn it. Nobody can use it to put spells on. Just send it to me. I'll take it.
So as far as the Gloria, with regard to the spots on your hair, it could be hormones, it could be diet, it could be stress or sleep or water, lack of water, and so you can actually see if you can speak to someone that's in the holistic arena to do a sort of an exploratory on what your lifestyle is, because believe it or not, sometimes even stimulating the scalp with a hot oil and massaging it on a daily basis can also stimulate the growth. When you feel like an itching feeling, that's the hair follicles starting to stimulate, and they'll slowly grow back. I would take the ball of my finger and dip it in some hot oil and just massage it in a circular pattern in the same, clockwise. And when I had those bald spots happening, it was stress and lack of water. So it can be so many things. That's why I see someone that really does holistic health, because that alternative medicine might explore things that a regular MD may not.
And you know, girl,
I've tried several things because I was a hairdresser at one time, and I've tried several things, you know, but I'll continue. But it doesn't like devastate me.
Though. When I was in Kenya, I went to, everything's so cheap, man. I went to the hairdresser, I'm like, give me the worst, because it didn't cost nothing anyway. But this guy must have massaged a part of his regular washing is probably a good 10-minute massage on my hair, on my scalp. I said, if I lived here, I would come here every week just for that. You got, and I don't know, you mentioned massage. So is that really good for her? Because I try and do my own thing,
Yeah, it stimulates the scalp. And it also, especially for you with being tender-headed, when you don't touch the scalp or agitate it, it gets more sensitive to any kind of touch. So you're actually doing more things to cause it the sensitivity of an interaction by not doing anything. So daily, you can just take the balls of your finger and gently massage in a circular direction on those, just softly and just kind of like in slow motion. And I sometimes will just warm up some oil, like olive oil or coconut oil, and then just massage it on to the scalp while it's warm.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
And you got a husband, you tell Mr. Tom, I said start massaging your head. Okay.
I won't tell you where he does or not, but I don't have any problems.
Oh, I'm sure you don't.
That's for the next session, right? With love and relationships.
She's got one of them long-term marriages that we love to celebrate whenever we can. So they're great people.
That's beautiful.
Okay. This has been so wonderful, ladies. Miss Brown, thank you so much for reaching out to me because, you know, you just brought so much more life to this conversation. I thought we would just have it, and we did just have a conversation, but it was nice to have you here because that's your work. That's what you do. So you brought it to another dimension. And
thank you for having me.
I so appreciate it. Gloria said take her off the spotlight. That's what that means, Gloria. So yeah, thank you so much. Judy, you have a quick question. I see your hand is up.
Yeah, quick question to Ms. Brown. So is it possible that when we see these issues that show up in our hair and our nails, that there might be other internal issues?
Oh, most definitely. More times than not, it's the case. I know that even in certain generations of our women's circle, a lot of women don't like to drink water. They don't even drink the most healthy water, and they don't even understand how flushing your organs and all of those other things are directly correlated with the stunting of growth or even just keeping your organs flushed. So, which is why I say a lot of times when I go through asking questions of people with what's going on, they're not even realizing those habits that they have are part of the interruption.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And it is, you know, somebody had asked me about my diet. Man, I'm telling you, I've had a horrible diet forever. Anybody who knows me now, I'm the most finicky eater ever. And, you know, I may be at a point in my life where I'm going to have to address that.
Well, like for instance, with you, what you said about hormones before, menopause, that means you're not having the proper amount of estrogen because you're losing hormones when you're going through menopause. And did you know oregano has the female estrogen at a higher concentration? So when you're out of balance and you're eating something that's high in concentration, it's going to throw you even more off. So finding a balance is also understanding what is going in your body. We ingest things and don't even think about what it's doing to us.
Right. Yep. So thank you so much for all of the information. Lola didn't tell us what teas to drink today. Lola, what's the teas for hair growth? Anyway, I don't even know if Lola's still with us. But anyway, ladies, we're going to wrap this up. I just want to
Can you hear me?
Oh, go ahead. That's Lola.
Yeah, moringa is good. Moringa is good. It's a nutrient-dense herb, and it's really good because it really has a lot of nutrients in it. It's one of the most nutrient-dense herbs around. So moringa, I would say moringa would be good.
Okay. Listen, before I'm going to go off script a little bit. Shirley Corsi, do you have your doll to show us? Shirley has made a judge doll already.
Oh, yes, I do. I can put the link if you want. I could put the link.
I was just going to bring you on screen. You can do that too, but I was going to bring you on screen if you wanted to show it.
Oh, okay. Let me pull it up and
while she's getting her doll, let me just remind you all again that next week we will be, it's Easter. I didn't even realize Easter. I can't believe it's Easter, but it is Easter. And we will meet, we're going to meet still, even though it's on Easter, 4 o'clock. I've already scheduled that. We're going to meet with Black folks who are living in Brazil. You know, our third Sunday is our international call. So I hope that you all chime in. For those of you who are interested in Brazil, who've been to Brazil, who want to go to Brazil, who want to live or just travel to Brazil, we will talk to Black folks who have relocated to Brazil. I'm looking forward to that. The following Sunday, and then that Thursday, that's when we'll meet with our men, Black men and Black women. And we've met with them before, but this is specifically for us to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about us. And it's just us, and you know, we'll see how that goes. I think it's overdue. And just as this is a conversation that we need to repeat, we also need to have constant conversations amongst ourselves and with our men, because they are a part of our community. And you know, I look at this whole Will Smith thing, and what I want Will Smith to do is to rise above this. And just as Black women are phenomenal, so are our men. And I want him to reach deep down inside, get back in touch with the core of who he is, because him and Jada have strayed from their Black roots. So come on home. And so that's a whole nother story. But, you know, let's talk about relationships and what it looks like for Black men to protect us. What do we want from our Black men, right? So we're going to have that conversation. And I need you to help me get men there, because I have a list of men that I reach out to. But I want you all, I mean, we can hold up to 500 people on this call. We don't need 500 people. But if every one of us brings 1 or 2 Black men with us, we're doing really well. And what else?
Helen, we're going to do it on politics, you know, this whole thing of incumbency versus people coming in. You were talking about the prosecutor from California. As a matter of fact, for those of you who don't know me, I was running for City of Newark. I live in Newark, New Jersey. City of Newark Council.
Helen, I'm back in.
Okay.
Okay, the City of Newark Council Person at Large. And I was 45 petitions short of getting on the ballot. And if you had asked me January 1st if I would be running, I had no idea. So I think I did really well, but right now we're going to do a write-in candidacy. So if you contact Helen and you want to contribute, because we, you know, need to pay for mailings and things like that. The election's on May 10th. But we're actually going to be doing a serious write-in. I think the people, at least in this town, we're hearing people talk about write-ins. I've never heard anybody having the conversations about the fact that we have an incumbent and they have no competition. So the fact they have no competition, we can't have people coming into office with no competition. So if you're interested in supporting me, Helen will let you know how, and we'll have somewhere for you to donate.
Okay, wonderful. Shirley, you need to turn on your camera so we can see your doll.
Yes, show the doll.
Shirley. I don't know where, she said she was in, but I don't know where she is. All right, I don't know where she went. All right, ladies, so we're gonna wrap this thing up. I'll see.
I'm here, Helen. I could share my screen real quick.
Okay.
If I can get it to share.
We'll give you a minute, because I want to get the doll for my nieces, my grandnieces.
Can you see it?
Oh, yeah, I can. It's adorable. Do we get a discount if we get a bunch of them?
Oh yeah, I'm open for discounts if you buy at least 2 or 3. Yes.
Yeah, I need like 5.
Okay, just send me. Here's the link.
Helen has it. She'll send it to me, and give me the number, and I'll call you and tell you how many I need.
Okay. All right. I can. I'll drop that in the chat. I could drop my number in there. And
don't worry, I'll get it from Helen.
Okay, this is the link, and it shows. And every doll, you know, I include a little. I like this picture that was just released of her. And I always include like a bio card, biography. I have a whole series, as Helen and Linda, you know, my dolls. I enjoy making them. And mine are refurbished dolls. I always say I make the outfit myself. I fashion the hair, whatever iconic part of that person. They're not look-alike dolls, but they're to capture the essence of the person and to promote education about that person.
There you go. Thank you so much. All right. So there's your plug for today.
Thank you. I'll put my
and on that note, ladies, I love you all. We're going to end this call. I thank you, Miss Brown, again, and everybody who shared your story. You all made this the success that it is. There is no When Black Women Gather without you. And what do we know? When Black women gather,
amazing things happen.
Amazing.
I'm looking for this
amazing. This was like a therapy session.
Amazing.
I wanted to say thank you. I think I saw my mom on the call at one point too. She's in Florida, so yeah. I just realized that.
Thank you, Miss Brown.
Yeah, so I'm bowled over that we made the connection this morning, and look at where we are. So this really is an amazing thing when we get together. So I appreciate you tremendously.
Yep. So I'm gonna stop the recording. We can hang out for another second or so, but this is the end of the recording. Thank you all so much for coming. Please, if you want to make a donation, it's more than appreciated. Also, please join our Facebook page, When Black Women Gather. And if you're, I think I don't know, if you want to be on the Google group where you get inundated with emails from all these ladies, or you have
around the world. From around the world, Helen, from around the world.
Right. But yeah, so just let me know and I can add you to the Google group. But Miss Wellens, I see you up there. Hey, lady, what's happening? Beverly and I were just at a play. I don't see Jackie here. But anyway, let me stop the recording and just thank you all again. 1 second.
Thank you.